Broadcasts of the City of Neenah Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin-Fox Valley. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents via the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues or about these broadcasts by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or by completing the electronic feedback form on the city website, www.neenahgov.org. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.
I'd like to call the Common Council to order for Wednesday, September 19, 2018. Welcome everyone for coming. We have a healthy agenda tonight. So first item of business will be the roll call. Members will punch in as your name is called and answer the clerk when your name is called. Thank you.
Alderman Boyett.
Here.
Bates.
Here.
Hillstrom.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Lang.
Here.
Steele.
Here.
Coons.
Here.
Stevens.
Here.
And Landrum.
Landrum. Can you please press into the
Yes.
system?
There's all members are present. There's a quorum present. The pledge tonight will be led by Council President Stevenson.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight, we're pleased to have with us some of our staff here who's going to talk to us about our lean program that we have in the city of Neenah. We have had for about 3 years now a lean a group that's been working on lean projects and processes here in the city. Director Barber had started it off, and we now have Joni Hines from my office and Samantha Jefferson from Community Development, who are kind of leading the team effort in looking at the way we do things here in the city and trying to find more efficiencies. So they're going to have a presentation, and we welcome you to the podium.
Thank you. As Dean mentioned, we're going to discuss kind of where we're at with our process improvement and lean journey within the city. We'll just take a few minutes tonight. Joni Hines is going to give us an overview of what lean in government is. Samantha Jefferson will share some of our successes, and I'll end with a summary of our lean journey so far.
All right, wanted to start with the definition of lean for government. And as you can see from the slide, it's an application of lean principles and methods to both identify and implement the most efficient and value-added way to provide government services. Simply put, it's a methodology that eliminates waste and helps maximize efficiencies. Specific to lean in the city, I believe that the lean thinking is an inherent way that most employees approach their work here. However, lean also is a means to formalize a cultural approach to impact the work of all employees. It also supports being good stewards to taxpayer dollars, as I often hear Dean say, and also the principles of lean directly contrast the stereotypical red tape, incomprehensible forms, and endless queues sometimes thought of when dealing with government agencies. Obviously, not the city of Neenah, but that perception is out there. So, putting lean into practice, how do we do that? We do that by using the right tools. And I'm going to go into some of the tools that we use that have helped us make a really good impact with process improvement here. First one is waste walks. Waste is anything that provides no value to the customer, doesn't contribute to the bottom line, but it has a cost associated with it. So when one does a waste walk, we can take a look at a process, looking to find ways to reduce and or eliminate waste so that we can streamline that flow of work. Common theme through most of the presentation, just streamlining that flow of work and taking waste out. When you do a waste walk, you actually see problems occurring right as you're watching that process so that you can address them. You also discover missed opportunities to add value for the customer. So we've gone on our waste walk, and we found things that need attention, that need improvement. We go into the problem solving with Lean. And problem solving is identifying and solving problems in less time with measurable results. Measurement is really key to Lean. It isn't just about, I feel like there's a problem. This is using Lean to identify specifically what is the problem and how to get rid of that, eliminate it, reduce it, what have you. Specific to that, it's using data. Again, getting to it's not just to feel like we have a problem, it's using data to prove that out to what degree and does it need our attention right away. It also involves everyone in the problem-solving process, and we come up with practical and detailed solutions. Again, it isn't like, I think this is broke, I think this is how we should fix it. It's more of what does the data tell us to do, and how can we go forward in solving that. To further assist problem solving, we've really embraced value stream mapping. This is a great tool because it creates a map, and I'm sure most people have seen those. It's literally a sea of Post-its that are put together to define what the current state is in a process. And obviously, as you watch that flow get created, you certainly can see that there's issues, again, analyzing and improving the flow of information. The map not only captures the current state of a process, but it gets into, once you do your Lean transformation with that process, you can map a future state. What's it going to look like when we fix this, when we improve this, holding accountability in there. Mapping can encompass just a job that I do, or it can be department-wide, or it can cross departmental boundaries. That has really been key for us when we've tackled big ticket items like the expense report and the P-card process. Those are big processes across multiple department lines, and we certainly have found that that's brought the silos down within the city. If I'm sitting side by side with somebody, elbow to elbow, we're looking at the process. It's not just how I see the process, I'm listening to how they experience that process. So really proved to be a valuable tool for us, and it's really injected a great attitude and approach to Lean within the city. Standardization. We have so many folks with so much knowledge here that it's really critical to sustain things with making sure that we capture all that knowledge and we put it into some type of procedure, not only to study the procedure for improvement, but just to capture that knowledge. I did want to stress with standardization, for example, I have the P-card purchase standard up here that we did in our P-card process review. And with that, again, it's bringing people together. In this case, multiple people use the same procedure. We did have a variance in how we did that particular procedure, and we were able to just hone that down into the best way to do something consistently with a great outcome. Before I get into this last slide, I just want to say that majority of city workers have gone through training for Lean in these tools and many other tools. What was critical to our learning and to move our journey along is they took that learning and we had homework. So if I picked a process out of my day and I mapped that process, I could use that value stream mapping exercise to really cement that learning. So that's done citywide. So homework is really taking that learning and make sure that it's going to stay with us and we use it every day. Last highlight or comment that I want to make is when we started our process improvement journey, community development was chosen as a pilot department for process improvement, and they have done an exceptional job. Samantha and most recently Cassie and all the folks in community development continue to shine with the efforts they do in lean process improvement, and they are the department to model after. So I applaud them, and Samantha's going to come up and talk a little bit about the specifics that she's done in community development as well as other areas in the city.
Good evening, everyone. For those of you who aren't familiar with me, I'm Samantha. I'm the office manager in community development. Sorry to these ladies, but I think I have the best part of the presentation because I get to tell you what employees are doing to improve processes here. So Joni has explained what process improvement is and why we do it. But the next question is, who does it? Every employee in our organization is expected to participate, and they have. The savings that we found is exceptional, and no savings is too small to make a difference. So I'm going to run through a series of slides. In the interest of time, I'm going to go quickly. I've listed projects that are happening now, that have happened recently or about to start. I'm not going to go through all of them because we'd be here for another 4 hours. So I have listed the champions that are working with each of those departments. If you want more information about them, please contact them. As a side note, the asterisks, if there is an asterisk by the project, it means that more than one department has worked on that. Okay, there we go. Okay, so in the community development department, like Joni said, we were a pilot department. So we started to see what we could do with process improvement and if it was really going to make a difference here. So for our department, I want to talk about the savings since 2015 when we started. For staff time, we've saved about 333 hours. In staff salary, we've saved about $7,600. And in supply costs, we've saved about $500. What I'm most excited to talk about, though, was the customer hours that we've saved, which is about 6,500 hours. That's huge. It mainly came from our project on certified survey maps that was led by my coworker, Cassie, with the assessment department. In that particular project, we took the process down from 247 days to 2 days for the customer. So that was huge. In the DOLIS department, they have been really working on customer service this year. Absentee voting notification for nursing homes. There was an issue with getting those citizens to be able to vote on time in a manner that they were able to vote correctly. So they really worked on getting notification more quickly and in a better manner. So the finance department, we really want to thank them because they were the leads on the expense report process and our P-card reconciliation, which was citywide projects. They really spent a lot of time and dedication doing those. I also got to participate in the cemetery administration overview, and we really worked on using technology to reduce overprocessing there. In the fire department, I had the privilege of working with them on the cancer prevention project, as well as Alderman Hillstrom. We'd like to thank him for participating. Safety is a pillar of lean, and it's something that we always want to look at for the health and safety of our employees, so that was really important. In human resources, so something Joni mentioned and something we talk about often is how many of our staff we're going to lose to retirement in the next couple of years. That's a huge problem if all of their processes that they have in their brains are going to walk out the door with them. So HR has really been a leader in getting processes documented, and they have over 60 of those done. They also are the leaders of the coordination of the Process Improvement Initiative, so we appreciate Heather for working on that. So in IS, it's really important for them to have organization of their tools and equipment because that's mainly what they are working with. So they worked on a 5S project in which they cleaned up their inventory. Joe gave me some before and after pictures. So that's something that they're really focusing on this year. Also, I would like to point out that they have probably touched almost every project that we've done in the city because inevitably we're going to talk about technology as potentially being a solution. So what can I say about the library slide except that they've been busy? They have a great staff over there that are really excited about process improvement. Jana is doing a great job kind of leading that effort. I'm most excited about the library redesign project because that's really going to key into customer service, function flexibility, raising those for them. So in Park and Rec, Joni led a project this summer that was regarding the seasonal employee timesheet. Before, they were doing them all manually, and that was costing the city a lot of money. So we went over to eliminating 100% of that manual review, and they saved about $4,800. So multiply that by every summer, and that was a huge savings there. For police, they're going to be working with HR in the coming months to start a review of the recruitment process and the onboarding. That's going to be a huge project with a lot of savings found. They've also worked on the court subpoena, getting the officers that information. They used to have to wait until they would wake up after a 12-hour shift or they'd be on duty. Now we've used technology and software, and that has cut down from waiting hours for that to about 5 minutes. In Public Works, I'm going to be honest, a lot of these are really technical. I don't know a lot about them, so you can certainly get a hold of James if you have questions about those. One thing I do want to point out, though, is Cassie is going to be going out to the city garage and working with the admin, the new admin there. It's going to be the first employee trained with a new lean handbook that we've put together for the city. So that's going to be really important when we start onboarding new employees that haven't been through training. We're going to train them in-house. So as you can see, we've been really busy at the City of Neenah. We've gotten some great savings, and it just continues to grow and multiply. So to talk about how we got there, Heather is going to talk about our journey.
All right. Actually, the first person that brought up lean in the city was our IS director, Joe Wenninger, who at a conference heard of this new topic that municipalities were starting to look at to improve their efficiency. So he mentioned it to me and said he thought it could be a good thing here. And we did some research and found that we had a great resource right in our own backyard with Fox Valley Technical College, who offers a certificate program in lean, and even now they look specifically at lean in government. So back in 2015, 2 department heads attended the lean certification program. That sort of opened our eyes to the benefits of lean and what it could do for the city. So at that point, we brought the Fox Valley Tech in to do training citywide for employees on a number of different topics. Some of them Joni mentioned, the waste walks, problem solving, mapping, and as she mentioned, we'd spread a topic over a couple days. So since the homework was solving a problem, just within the training we had over 50 problems improved, or processes improved, or problems solved within that training. Another great benefit from an HR standpoint to that training was seeing the people in the training who had the aha moment, whose eyes lit up and got excited about lean, because those are now our future lean leaders. Some people took to this very well and became natural leaders in it. All right. As you saw in the previous slide, we did some multi-departmental efforts. And I think another thing to point out is we have on our city intranet, we actually have a submission form where employees can submit ideas, essentially processes that are cumbersome, things that seem to take too long. They can submit ideas to the lean team for review, and every year we've knocked off some of those and had process improvement events. One of the other benefits of working with Fox Valley Tech on this was the networking abilities. We are now part of a peer group with other municipalities where we share lean ideas, we should share our successes and failures, and that group has been really beneficial for the city. As we were early in our journey and some others were further along, we've been able to share information. Now that we're 4 years in, we have others just starting their journeys and we're able to help them, so that's been really nice. Kind of an honor for the city is we were invited to speak at the Fox Cities Operational Excellence Association conference. And Samantha and Joni did a great job of presenting where the city of Neenah is at. One of the things that came out of that I thought was really cool was the feedback we got after the presentation. We were the only government presenter there, and people thought it was really cool to see that a government had picked up on this and was trying to become more efficient. We actually had Neenah residents saying they really appreciated how progressive the city was in trying to improve processes. So that was a nice benefit to that. This year's focus, we've gone away from some of the mandatory training. Now that we have a number of people trained within the city, we're trying to focus more on getting things done. As was mentioned previously, we're working on standardization of work in addition to improving processes this year. We've also introduced the idea of the champions. Not all of our departments have someone who is Lean certified at this time, so matching them up with someone who does has been very helpful. And as was also mentioned, we've started a new mentoring program for new employees this year. And we have several people here from our Lean leadership team. They're the Senior Process Improvement Team, or SPIT. If we have any SPIT members here, can you just stand up?
Come on.
And I'll just read the names. We have Cassandra Coles from Community Development, Edgar Gonzalez from Police, myself from HR, James Merton from Public Works, Samantha Jefferson from Community Development, Joe Wenninger from IS, Jonna Donato from the Library, Kevin Clone from Fire, Joni Hines from Dolois, and Vern Green from Fire. All right, and what's in it for you as a council? I think we can all agree that it's saving time and saving money is important. It's good to be able to tell the taxpayers we're efficient. We're training our employees to be good stewards of your money and to be efficient. In addition, a lot of big businesses, well, I think pretty much all big businesses have a lean focus, a process improvement department. You've got the KC and Theta Clark. Process improvement is huge at those places. So as we're looking to recruit new businesses to the area, it's good to be able to say we're efficient, we're effective, we're progressive. It also helps with recruiting new employees. If I want someone coming from the private sector who's nervous about the red tape, if you will, of working for government, understanding that we do lean here can make a difference. And I think, as Samantha mentioned, the time savings and cost savings that we've found to date through minimal investment is significant and important. So as city leaders, I just think it's important to celebrate these successes and to continue to recognize, support, and promote the lean culture within the city of Neenah. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, well, thank you very much. I just want to say this is really exciting because these are employees this is a program that's kind of bottom up, not top down. It's driven by the employees, and they're excited about it. They are driving change here in the city of Neenah, and I think the taxpayers are the beneficiaries, and that's why to take a few minutes at a council meeting and celebrate what's going on within the city of Neenah and let taxpayers know and let the citizens know that we are doing things and we do have the taxpayers in mind and they understand that the taxpayers are the boss and that they want to be efficient here and not waste taxpayer dollars. So I'm really proud of them. These processes and changes and that are being brought to us by the employees. Tonight, I don't think I was out of the room for a minute, but Heather, you didn't mention Ken tonight, Ken Schmaltz.
Right.
Okay. Well, I just want to publicly say thank you to Ken Schmaltz because Ken was the leader and the driving force from Fox Valley Technical College in conjunction. He couldn't be here tonight. We might invite him back when he can be here just to say thank you because Ken went over and above in helping the city of Neenah get to some of its goals in that with regards to lean. So from myself, thank you very much for what you guys are doing because it is making a difference. And I think employees see the difference. So it's kind of exciting to know that it's going on. Anyone else? Council President Stevenson.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I wanted to dovetail the mayor's comments. During my time here, I've probably been one of the largest comparers of our city operation to private industry and the private sector. And I've challenged our department heads mostly to think outside the governmental box and to think of better and efficient ways of doing it. And they've done a good job of that. But I'm really impressed with the amount of work that our entire employee group has done to create what you just showed us. There are private sector businesses that would love to be able to take this to their board of directors. So congratulations to every one of you for your commitment, your work, your dedication, and your results. Very nice.
Alderman Lundrum?
Thank you, Mayor. Samantha, I remember like it was yesterday when you made your first lean, or our first lean presentation, because I had only heard about it in corporations. And when you presented it to us as a new governmental entity, I thought, oh, wait, of course, why can't we do that? And the way you all had taken off with that and professionally and immediately, you didn't put it off, you dove in on top of your other duties. And I get that. And we all know that you did that way above and beyond your other duties. So I have been impressed with all of our staff, all of our city staff. And as an alderman, you cannot imagine how comforting it is to tell a resident, a taxpayer, what kind of people we have working for them. And it's just a comfort level because of my confidence in our staff. And I probably speak for everyone. But the best is I'm a taxpayer. And when you save me money, I appreciate that too. So we appreciate you so much, and you are extreme professionals. Thank you very much.
Director Hayes?
I'd just like to go off of Todd's comments of continually challenging department heads. And when you watched the presentation here tonight, you saw probably just about every department represented. The one entity that I didn't see there was this council. And I believe you probably don't understand how often your role here integrates with what we do every day at City Hall. And I know from my experience, I've seen areas that we could improve on our efficiency. So what I would challenge our council to be open to the concept of reviewing processes that affect this council and how we can improve those efficiencies as well.
Okay.
Mayor,
go ahead.
Can I ask that you send that presentation to each council member, please? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you all very, very much for coming tonight. Chris will buy donuts in the morning.
Again.
All right, thank you all for coming.
Donuts are cheap. They're lean donuts.
Don't put me in charge of buying the snacks. There are no mayor's appointments tonight. Approval of council proceedings of September 5th, 2018 regular session. Is there a motion? We're going to write it down in the meantime. We have a small situation going on, so
Move to approve.
we have the deputy clerk on our way, but we'll write these down in the meantime, Mike. Well, okay. The motion by Alderman Stevenson,
Sure.
I'll second it. Lendrum.
seconded by Alderman Ludrum, to approve the minutes of September 5, 2018 regular session. Is there any discussion, correction, addition, comments? Seeing none, all in favor will vote aye. Will say aye. All opposed say no. All opposed say aye.
Aye.
Opposed no. That's unanimous. Public hearings, there are none. Plan Commission report pertaining to the public hearing, none. Which brings up to the item number 6, which is the public forum. Public forum is an opportunity for anyone to speak to the council on any topic they choose. We have some agenda items on the agenda tonight that people might be interested in talking about. We just ask that you limit your comments to 5 minutes or less so that everyone has a chance to speak. We ask that you give your name and residential address just so we have it for the record. Who would like to speak to the council? Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Lindsay Erickson. I live at 240 Algoma Boulevard in Oshkosh. I'm a community health strategist at the Winnebago County Health Department. In that role, I coordinate Rethink, the Lakeshore Tobacco Prevention Network, which covers Winnebago County. I'd like to speak tonight about the proposed ordinance to prohibit possession of vapor products by minors. So thank you, first off, for protecting the public health and safety of our youth and our future generation. Although we don't yet know the long-term effects of e-cigarettes and vaping products because they've only been out on the market for a few years, studies are showing that these products do contain harmful chemicals. Some of these chemicals include formaldehyde and diacetyl, which can be toxic when inhaled, causing lung irritation and buildup of scar tissue in the lungs. We also know that nicotine is very addictive, and many of these products do contain nicotine, and can be particularly harmful on adolescent brains. Some studies are also showing that the aerosol emitted from these products can contain cancer-causing chemicals, nicotine, ultrafine particles, and heavy metals. Thank you also for recognizing this as an urgent problem and taking action. So just last week, the FDA declared that youth vaping has become an epidemic and is taking steps to ensure that vaping retailers are not selling to minors. Although we've seen a decrease in overall cigarette use by both youth and adults, we're seeing a sharp increase in e-cigarette use and vapor use. Just this past spring, we found that 30% of Winnebago County high school students reported using an electronic vapor product in the last 30 days. That's nearly twice the rate of the state and national averages, and that rate is increasing. One of the products that we're most concerned about is Juul, which currently controls 70% of the market, and it's only been out for 3 years. Juul comes in tempting flavors like mint and mango, and one Juul pod, which is the container that has the liquid, the nicotine, contains the same amount of nicotine as a whole pack of cigarettes. Juul represents how smart the marketing of these products has been to hook the next generation. Today's e-cigarettes and vaping products are discreet, modern, techy, and have candy and fruit flavors and are relatively easy to access, especially online. And while we're concerned about the youth who are using these products, let's continue to work on the bigger picture of youth access to these products. Each year we conduct tobacco compliance checks through the Wisconsin WINS program at a sample of area retailers with tobacco licenses and vape shops. So we record whether or not underage youth are able to purchase tobacco products at these retailers. So during the past round of tobacco compliance checks completed this summer at a sample of 20 City of Neenah retailers, 3 retailers unfortunately sold to our underage minors. We are also concerned about online sales of these products. The FDA is now looking at whether internet sites are used to make straw or bulk purchases of these products with the intent of reselling to minors. We also know that some populations of youth and adults are disproportionately burdened with tobacco and nicotine addiction. This includes individuals of low income, people of color, LGBTQ youth, and people who have experienced trauma or have mental health and other substance use challenges. So we as a community value keeping our residents safe and healthy. We all want to see our next generation live healthy and fulfilling lives. The implementation of this type of policy will be as important as its development and support. So since this is a huge public health issue and its impact will affect many youth in our community, please feel free to use me and the Public Health Department as a resource. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else here like to speak on any topic before the council? Come on up. Welcome, Susan.
All right.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. My name is Susan Garcia Franz. I live at 1790 Wendy Way in Neenah, and it's Fox Crossing technically, but I do work in the city of Neenah. So I am here coming to speak to you as a parent of a 16-year-old that goes to Neenah High School, and I just want to give another perspective on the prohibition of the vaping products, and this is maybe something you haven't considered, so I hope you'll take my words into consideration. So I, as a parent, am really concerned about that limit of access. I think when you put a product front and center for youth and it's a popular product and it looks pretty cool, there is an issue. And so when that came up with smoking over the years, any of the products that you've seen that have really targeted youth, a big thing is when you put it behind the counters, when you make it more restrictive, take away a lot of that marketing. Those corporations are smart. They know what they're doing. They know how to make things look cool. They know how to make them streamline them so kids want them. So they know what they're doing. They're smart. They're smart, and they've gotten 13% of the market in a very short period of time. So as a city, you have an opportunity to take that and really make it as be a model in the community of really limiting that access. And although online may be a challenge for you as a city, the state has the opportunity. Representative Rohrcast in our community has an opportunity to look at ways to go at the online marketing of this and the online, so through taxation, online, start doing some trending data online and who's buying it. They have to check just a box that says they're 18. That's all they have to do to buy online. There's no dates of birth. There's nothing that is more restrictive for them on that online. And what we're finding is really it's getting in the hands of a lot of kids from a secondary consumer who's buying it and then selling it to our children. So while you might not be able to, as a city, really look at the online, you really do have a chance to look at the marketing of this and to take away marketing on the streets. Jewel signs are everywhere on the streets, so marketing heavily to our kids. And I just want to give you the perspective of a parent who, I have an at-risk child in that we've had some issues we did get her diagnosed with dyslexia and ADHD. But before that happened, the schools took, when we were having some issues in the schools, they issued my daughter an ordinance violation and then ordered her to, in order to expunge that, go through a process where she was being judged by her peers. And she probably wouldn't, she's 16, she probably would not appreciate me saying this out in the public, but the reality is that it didn't work. The punitive part didn't work. So we didn't get the right intervention for her at that time. And what that goes to do is creates distrust of the children for the people that administrate them and are to be their guidance when those kinds of things happen. It was a liaison officer in the school district that did that ordinance violation, and so then we had not the great relationship anymore. And I would teach my children to always respect the police department, but it was a tough relationship from there on forward. And what I want to say is that our kids that are at risk and our kids that are really struggling out there and look to these products because they're highly addictive, we need to have that relationship with them because we don't want them going down that addiction line. And there's conditions out there that really give them a higher propensity to addiction. And so we really need to work and get the right intervention. We have RTI in our schools. We have PBIS, it's a positive behavioral intervention system. So we have a lot of things in place in our schools now to try to do this the right way. Because we used to do it punitively, and every time we do it punitively, it hasn't always brought the results we want to see. It goes into the more at-risk youth that are struggling, and they go on to sometimes have problems with employment when things are on their records. They go on to have problems in their profession and having a professional life into the future with these things constantly. When you're putting something on their record, it does not lead to good outcomes. So we need to look at evidence-based policies. What has worked in the past? I would say you as a council, when Smoke-Free Wisconsin came along, it was limiting access and making it not cool. So maybe, I would joke about bringing 46-year-olds into schools to use the products to make it not cool might be helpful, but I just don't think that's a strategy we can do. But there's a lot of things you as a council can do. So I just want to say the teeth that you're adding, the teeth that want to be added, a lot of times it adversely affects vulnerable populations, at-risk populations, and really, we really don't want to limit those opportunities. Give kids something to look forward to and opportunities in this lifetime, and you're going to see those rates go down because higher education has led to lower smoking rates, better health outcomes, whatnot. So don't limit our children. I have a feeling that this is going to, we can work together as community partners and work in community collaboration to really look at this issue overall and really work together as partners. Public health is one of the partners. We also have a coalition for healthy living that's a partner out there. You have a lot of people to reach out to as a city and to work with also the school district to really make sure we do this right for the kids. kids, because we haven't always done it right in the past. So I appreciate your time and all the effort. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Come on up. Welcome.
Hello and good evening. My name is Dave Anderson. I am an area landlord for 418 Sherry Street, so owner of a building and a landlord. And I'm here in regards to the transition to the automated refuse collection. And my understanding is that the City Council is indeed discussing this as part of the agenda tonight. Again, it's a 6-unit apartment building. It sits between 2 single-family homes. And I'm here on behalf of the residents who, as we have come to discover in this process of switching to automated collection, that we were actually not supposed to be receiving city trash services for the last 15 or 20 years or so, and we're about to lose those. And just preliminary estimates says that, you know, that's about $60 a month. That's $720. It is a 6-unit, so that's maybe $10 per unit. But these are folks, several of them are on disability or Social Security. These are folks that can't even afford that small rent increase to cover what would now be commercial collection. So what I'm here to ask for tonight, and ask for the consideration of a grandfather clause. Again, one where perhaps this building had been receiving city services. It sits in a residential area. It's between 2 single-family homes, that we're allowed to continue that residential collection and become part of the automated services. And in addition, you know, I understand that single-family homes or other residents may look at this and say, well, wait a minute, look at those greedy landlords are getting something that we as taxpayers in the single-family homes, you know, so there's another side to this coin. I think landlords of the smaller buildings, the 6-unit and smaller residential type buildings, we're willing to pay for those services. Similar to a building that I own in Appleton, where I pay for each 95-gallon cart, you know, I pay for that on a weekly basis, and that's water, sewer, and trash. So that's come. So I'm here to ask to be grandfathered. I'm okay with paying. So there's a number of considerations as you enter into those discussions. I thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you very much for coming tonight. Anyone else like to talk on the council, address the council? Come on up.
My name is Mike Dubois, 1469 Amendment Drive. I've been kind of watching because we have a Facebook group for our subdivision. I live in Liberty Heights, who you called out as one of your examples of we'd still face that first full assessment. One of the big comments that I was asked to bring tonight is, it sounds like we're supposed to be getting curb and gutter in the next few years. Does that fall under this assessment, or is that going to be part of the fee that we pay? And then also as a comment, with us being due, I guess, in like our 5-year plan to have our roads redone, I guess what I'm trying to understand is if we're going to start paying this fee, which is $18 a year, I have no issues with that. I'm absolutely on board with it. I'd be happy to pay a little more even if it means we can start to improve more of the roads in Neenah and get more done. My question is, if we're going to pay that $18 fee or whatever you determine it to be if it passes, why do we then on top of that have to go pay a special assessment for our roads to be redone? Because my understanding is the purpose of this fee is to replace that fund or the way that that's collected. So it feels like we're getting hit with a double assessment. And when you mentioned that some of us in that subdivision are probably more able to afford that first-time cost, there's a little bit of truth to that. But at the same time, I'm also one of those middle-class residents who I'm looking at it going, if I'm going to get hit with a $5,000, $6,000 bill in the next few years, that's a lot. Even for someone of our standing, you know, we're a young couple. I have a 3-year-old daughter. We're hoping to have more, and we're hoping to live here the next 30, 40, 50 years while our family grows. You know, I just think that that's not really a fair way to go about it. I'd be more than happy to have my fee be $50, $75, and I can absolutely absorb that every year versus having to pay a smaller fee every year and then told because we're a newer subdivision, we're still going to get hit with the old assessments. So thank you for your time.
Right after the public forum is done, the council has an opportunity to answer any questions or comment, okay? Just so everyone knows. Anyone else have any comments or questions? Welcome, Dwight.
Hi. My name is Dwight Kerr, 434 High Street, Neenah. Good evening, Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council. I'm here tonight to bring you a little update on the Trestle Trail. We are approximately 3 months from the opening of the trail, and many of the concerns of the residents of West North Water Street have in fact come to pass, contrary to Director Kading's statement. We routinely have trespassing on our properties that are not fenced. We routinely have doggy-doo on our properties. We have had doggy bags left as presents for us. The trail has been used every hour of the day, many times without respect to the residents of the neighborhood. The first couple of weeks, the trail was heavily used. I have approximately 4,000 pictures from 1 week of use. Usage has tailed off a bit since then. I'm currently only getting a little over 3,000 pictures a week. During the 1 week when we had the severe rainstorms, I still got 2,000 plus pictures. I'd like to explain my camera to you a little bit so you understand what these pictures represent. The camera is a Browning Strikeforce BTC5 HD that is about 7 to 8 years old. It has a motion detection range of approximately 70 feet and a 0.67 second shutter delay. The field of view detection is about 60 feet wide, and it's set with a 5-second delay between shots. What this means is it only takes pictures of the trail usage in the street. Any pictures that show any usage on either of the sidewalks is just because there was something happening on the street. I sent an email about a month or so ago, which included 2 flash drives that I dropped off at the mayor's office. I hope each of you has had an opportunity to look at those. At that time, I asked 2 questions. Would you want this in your neighborhood? The second question was, would you allow this on any other street in the city? I'll ask a third now. Is there anything you see that's unsafe in those pictures? I have a half a dozen pictures of the doggy bags that were left in our yards. Unfortunately, I don't have any pictures of the trespassing or things like that, but I do believe that there are some legitimate safety concerns about how the trail is routed and how it's being used. I'd also like to say that the Plexus Health Walk, my wife said that was probably the quietest Saturday morning we've had in our neighborhood since the trail opened. And that's primarily because the trail was routed up the designated route of River Street. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Seeing no one else, I will close the public forum. Mayor, Council, consideration of any of the public forum issues that were brought up. I'm going to have Jim just address the situation with the ordinance as it currently stands with regards to new subdivisions.
Yeah, that's correct. The ordinance provides that new subdivisions are the responsibility of the original owners or the developer of the property. That first construction of the road is a requirement of the owners of the property to do the work, the initial paving on that under the ordinance.
Area.
The 2-inch mat is escrowed.
They currently have the 2-inch right now. So
that means that when it's redone, we would be responsible, or that initial putting in of it was the first taking,
No, the ordinance requires that the first curb and gutter, the 2-inch mat is the temporary provision for hard surface roadway. The final curb and gutter and paved surface that will be put in after the subdivision fully developed, that's the responsibility of the subdivision itself.
So the proposal that you heard earlier today it was written in a way that would not impact new subdivisions, including those that come into the city years down the road. If something's annexed, if there's an area of farmland that's annexed into the city and someone does a subdivision, those people will have to pay for their first road. You're kind of in that unique situation where this is happening now and you haven't had your first road yet. So it will be a council decision, okay? Alderman Bates?
Thank you, Mayor. I need a point of clarification from Ms. Garcia France. As you were speaking, you made the point of being concerned that the teeth that we are adding to this ordinance would adversely affect certain populations. So my question is, do you feel that it is a good thing or not a good thing? Is
Not a good thing for the fine. Oops, sorry.
Susan, come on up to the thing so that you have a microphone.
So I'm sorry, I did realize when I sat down, I didn't clarify that the fine portion of it that you're going to add on would again negatively impact the students that are at risk or certain populations, vulnerable populations that it adversely affects them at a higher rate. And so I just wanted to clarify that's the portion that you're looking at for the enforcement in terms of at the stores and the retail locations. I would be for you working more on that access piece, so children didn't have that access piece.
so in a sense when the student or whoever it is would get a fine and it would perhaps show up on their record is what you're saying is it would be a negative.
Right, because there's already at the school level there already is a in place. They do have a disciplinary process for that within the school district. So they are doing something within the school district. So the problem is when you keep layering on that, especially when you get to ordinance violation, that's a record that becomes on someone's record. And now with CCAP and internet usage, sometimes we think that goes away. It doesn't go away for a lot of students. And then when they go on later for these employers are really savvy now and they're looking at all of that. So I'm just trying to say also credit record, there's a lot involved here when we talk about health equity and access to opportunity. And so I'm just bringing that up as the issue of really wanting to look at our youth and do this right for them. That it's not as I don't want them using vaping products either. And I've talked to my 16-year-old, and if you want any more information about it, you could talk to. She'll tell you how it works in the school system.
We have Attorney Zaleski like to add something.
I just want to clarify that because this is a municipal court, it does not appear on CCAP any action that occurs as a result of a violation. So the CCAP is not
right.
With this one.
I understand, like the CCAP. I just want to say workplaces are getting savvy with what they look up and things like that, and it just. What I'm saying for the CCAP part.
There is not a statewide record of.
There's no record.
Right. Okay. So that's good. The portion that happens, though, is sometimes that snowballs. If they can't pay the fine, and the parents can't pay the fine, and they're of challenged means, sometimes that goes on to the next level. So whatever that we find families that get in that snowball effect when they have these situations, that it just keeps going for them in terms of dealing with law enforcement. I'm not saying I'm saying that's probably 1.001% of who may be affected. It's probably not a large group when we talk of the overall population, but it does could negatively impact them. So I'm just saying to look at that lens. We're trying to look at that lens. I'm trying to look at that lens whenever we put in a policy. How would it impact those that are really in that really need the right intervention? And the right intervention is not getting the nicotine in their system. And sometimes that's taking away the source and not necessarily finding them at the school level. They do have something in place at the school level.
Okay. Thank you, Susan. Appreciate it very much. All right, anyone else have any comments on any of the comments that came up tonight? If not, we will close Mayor Council consideration. Consent agenda, is there a motion? Can we just, one piece of housekeeping so the clerk can catch up? Can you just push your buttons for the minutes, how you voted previously by voice vote? Then we'll be able to move on. That motion passes 9-0. Okay. There you go. Item number 8 is the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Move for the approval of the consent agenda as presented.
The motion by Stevenson, seconded by?
Second.
Alderman Lundrum. Is there any discussion? Seeing none? All in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote no. Using the roll call machine.
I'm trying.
That motion.
I'm still trying.
you go. That motion passes 9-0. Reports of the standing committees. In consideration thereof, the Public Services Safety Committee meeting of September 11th. Alderman Stevenson, you have a comment?
Yeah, I would ask for the council's indulgence to adjust the agenda to deal with item 4 of the Public Services and Safety Committee first. I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to deal with that issue first.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I was going to second it.
All right, there's a motion by by Stevenson, seconded by Lenram, just to have item number.
Carry on.
Okay, item number 4, which is the adopt ordinance 2018-12 regarding tobacco and vapor products by minors. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That's so ordered. Chairperson Bates, if you'd like to report that one out first, please, appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting out from the regular Public Service and Safety Committee meeting of September 11th, 2018, the committee recommends council adopt ordinance 2018-12, possession of tobacco and vapor products by minors prohibited, and I would so move.
There's a motion by Bates, seconded by
I'm trying. Landrum. Still trying.
seconded by Lenram.
There we go.
There we go. No. Motion by Bates.
Oh, no, not quite.
This was previously in the system.
Previously in the system.
We'll just adjust it.
Or if you get to that same option, you could have answered yes to that.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right. There's a motion by Alderman Stevenson, seconded by Alderman Lundrum. Motion by Alderman Bates, seconded by Alderman Lundrum, to recommend a council adopt ordinance 2018-12, possession of tobacco and vapor products by minors prohibited. Any discussion? Any discussion on this ordinance? Alderman Lundrum. Alderman Lundrum, then Alderman Steele.
Thank you, Mayor. On this one, I'm voting more as a parent than an alderman. As a parent of a previously extremely rebellious child, I won't name names, this enforcement of this ordinance I would have been for back then because I needed every bit of help with that kid. So I needed officers, I needed counselors, coaches, and I should say we needed. And as that village, I appreciated that help. And if this helps the liaison officers, the teachers, to protect my child, your child, I'm all for it. And so I appreciate all the work you put into this and in bringing this forward. As an ordinance infraction, yeah, it would have been shocking to him. And maybe that was a good thing. And maybe he would have had to mow lawns to pay that off. That's probably a good thing too. So I guess I'm okay with the fines. And yes, it probably does fall on parents, but kids are able to pay those fines. They're able to take odd jobs in the community, and I think that does build character. And that's what I would have made my kid do. So I'm okay with that. Thank you.
Alderman Steele.
Thank you. I have some concerns about this. I obviously have a deep interest in health, and I'm very concerned about vaping, but I question whether this is the appropriate way to approach this. We're talking about teenagers who, as we all know, whether you are a parent of a teenager, you really know this, they are not functioning on their frontal lobes. Let's put it that way. They are extremely vulnerable to advertising, and the advertising of these companies have gone after sitting ducks. They're young, they have the potential of using these products for years, and they don't have the judgment that adults have in terms of making decisions about using these products. So they are flavoring them, they are coloring them, they are making them attractive to people who are not using a lot of judgment in making these decisions. And I would much rather see the city think about controlling access in terms of advertising, in terms of retailing, in terms of how these products are presented, than going after the teenagers who, I understand teenagers are exasperating. I've raised several of them, but there's a limit to how much we can expect them to function as adults. And I think it is their parents who, one way or another, are going to be responsible for either getting their kid to pay the fine or paying the fine themselves. It is going to fall on people who can ill afford these fines. And I just think that there are probably better ways to work at controlling this product. And I agree that the city is I don't know what the city can do legally to restrict the sale, the advertising of these products, but I'm just not sure that fining these kids is going to be the way to go and is going to have a significant effect on the amount of these products that kids are using.
Alderman Coons.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got two questions and a comment. Questions are going to be for the police department. They talk about enforcement. And the two questions I have is, what kind of leeway is there going to be for citations? Meaning if a kid's caught smoking at school, they have to call the police and they have to come write them a citation and give them a fine? Or is that may not be reported to them and may be handled through the school system? But first of all, I'm looking at that. I've read different articles about students and when they fall into the police system, the legal system, typically that causes more problems. There's a time where it needs to be, and it's a very, very important piece. But the more kids we can keep out of that system, typically the better. So I asked that first question. I have one more after that.
And I'm going to introduce Vicki Strabel. She's the one that's going to be dealing with this probably 90% of the time. So I'm going to let her explain that.
Obviously, this is a huge topic, and I take it personally because I am the one that's dealing with this, and you know that being on both boards here. But I guess it is officer discretion, but I truly work with the school district. And if you're talking about, am I enforcing it every single time to issue a ticket? I guess I would look at the situation. I mean, we literally have kids that are in classes that are vaping. We have kids in the classrooms, in the locker rooms vaping. And I don't know what to get into a lot of the specifics with the vaping, but there's just no regulations. We don't know what's in the product. I've tested numerous ones of these mods and the Juuls, and there's hash oil that's in it, THC. And so we just don't know what they're smoking. So it all depends, and I guess the first question, sir, is it is going to be officer discretion. A lot of it's going to fall on me because it is at the high school. Others, it's going to be patrol officers, and I think it just depends on the situation. But I truly work with the school district, and I've already had 6 kids this year alone in 4 weeks of classes that I've had Juuls and e-cigs. And I deal with the parents. Some parents come in, they take the e-cigs because I can't do anything with it, and they give it right back to the kid. And we explain, and a lot of times the parents don't even know what's in it. And when I explain it, they're like, oh, I thought that kids could have these. I didn't know what was in it. Now I'll think about it and not give this to kids. In reference to the students, where the school district is trying to have consequences, but it's not working. And they're giving suspensions, but that's not helping either. You know, we want the kids to be in school. Giving citations. I don't want to write a citation. And so it is at the city level where I can work with them, work with Judge Guns, and work out, community service for these kids, which is giving back to the community. Things like that, not just the monetary aspect of it.
All right, one more question. Looking at enforcement, how many citations, fines, whatever we do, have we given or do we give to people over 18 who smoke in a public place or not supposed to?
So they're above 18 or older?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I mean, we have a law that you can't smoke in restaurants and different places. Do we give citations for that?
It's been 4 or 5 years since I've been on patrol, so I don't know if we really do that.
My guess is we probably don't.
Yeah.
Which gets to my bigger point, and that is, I support generally what's going on here. What we do as a city, a country, everything. Whenever there's a problem, we seem to go to the youth and make rules for them and not anybody else. I'll give drinking, for example. We have a drinking problem in this country. What do? We go to, you can't drink until you're 21, and we place rules on 21-year-olds. Probably not bad things, but we don't do much else. With 12 OWIs people have, and Wisconsin hasn't done much for that in that instance. Same thing here. To me, what should happen is we should, and people may have an issue with this, might have a bigger issue with this, and that is you can't vape anywhere you can smoke, for anybody. As you say, I don't know what's in that stuff. The police department just now is having a new air exchange system put in their evidence room because some of these chemicals can be so toxic that they can cause some real issues. I'm walking down the street and someone's blowing their vape in my face. I don't know what it is. I grew up in the days of sitting in the back seat of the car with my parents both smoking. At least I knew what it was at the time. Probably not a great thing, but unregulated everything else. If there's anything we should be preventing people from smoking in other people's way in a public area, it's probably the unregulated vaping, which could be almost anything. And so I get what you're trying to do. I sort of get what you're trying to do. The process eludes me a little bit, but it is one where, to me, the solution would simply be to make vaping illegal wherever the smoking is illegal. That would solve it in the schools. That'd solve it everywhere. I don't know what happens in the fine situation. I assume there's fines set up if someone smokes in a non-spot or whatever. Yeah. But it's very clear that people haven't. We say don't smoke in these areas, and people haven't overall, except for in the schools. And so somehow some of that has worked. I think it would be a great learning tool for kids too. Hey, look, no one can smoke in there, and they stop doing it. And so maybe they should too. So I support this, but to me, the solution would be to go larger and not make this specific to one small group.
Alderman Boyette.
Thank you. So I have a bunch of things here I want to say. First of all, I agree with our parent, Susan, that came and spoke. I also agree with Alderman Steele. I don't believe that this is for me to decide. I believe that there's a state law that gives our police department what they need. This is a school issue and a parent issue. If a parent wants to buy vaping products for their child, just like if they want to take them in a local bar and have them served with a beer, our state law allows that. Our parents are allowed to do that. So I don't think, as an alderman, I need to police everybody's parenting skills and their children and what they can and cannot do. These kids, I've been told, are at-risk kids. They're not going to pay for these fines. Their parents are going to get stuck with these fines. These kids don't have jobs, or if they do have jobs, we all know they don't make a whole lot of money. So again, I'm concerned about what happens down the road. Like Susan had said, our attorney said it won't go on their permanent record, but if the fine isn't paid, then what happens to that money and that bill? I know if I don't pay a fine, it gets attached to my driver's license, or it gets attached to another situation, and it follows me. You don't get away without paying on a fine or a ticket. As far as addictiveness, yes, it's a product, and apparently it is addictive. Apparently it does have chemicals, and I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I know the FDA does approve certain things, and I know they don't approve certain things. I know people that go to other countries to get medications to heal their diseases and their ailments because the FDA doesn't approve them here, and they're working fine for them. So again, to hear these reports about the FDA, again, that's one source of information. That doesn't mean that it's always correct information. I want to be facetious and say video games are just as addicting. Is that going to be our next ban or our next ordinance that we're going to, you're playing on your phone and you're walking down the street and you're going to cross into traffic and now you've caused this accident, and is there like an ordinance now they're going to get a fine on top of that too? I'm just wondering where does this end? Smoking cigarettes has been attributed to being just as addictive as heroin, and that's pretty bad. But are we pushing these kids from taking them off of the vaping and pushing them back onto cigarettes? And then is that number going to climb? These are all what ifs, and we don't know what this is going to do. We don't know the damage. Like Susan had said, this may push these children in the opposite direction of what we want to go. I don't know, for these reasons and many more, I don't agree with this ordinance. I'm wondering, we have a state law. Does that not assist you with what our police department needs?
I'm going to let our assistant city attorney, because you asked a question, so I'm going to allow you to answer.
So a couple just legal clarifications. The state of Wisconsin, parents cannot provide tobacco products to their minors. So a parent cannot give their any age child a cigarette, whether they're at home or in a bar. A parent can do that with alcohol in the state of Wisconsin, cannot do that with tobacco in the state of Wisconsin. The state law currently bans people under the age of 18 from having nicotine or tobacco products, which, yes, in all intents and purposes, that prohibits minors from smoking or vaping the majority of the things that they vape. The problem is the police department has no way to test that liquid to see if it has nicotine or not. They can test it for THC, as the officer explained, but there's really no way that they can see if it has nicotine in it or not. So this ordinance just allows them to say it doesn't matter if it has nicotine in it or not, you can't use it. And the third, just legal clarification, the fine that's imposed from the juvenile bond schedule is written in the bond schedule of the city of Neenah. It's not specific to this crime. Any juvenile fine pays that. But the fine on a ticket is not the only possible outcome. Judge Guns, who's the current municipal judge, almost always allows for a minor, in lieu of a payment, to do community service. Almost always. Not all the time. But in addition to that, there's also diversions from the city attorney's office. So rather than getting charged, you could do X hours of community service, you could do something else in exchange for having that fine be paid. So the fear that young people aren't going to be able to afford it and then it's going to get pushed onto their parents, while it could happen, that's not really the option that Judge Guns and the city of Neenah usually takes.
Could I ask a question?
And there's also always a payment plan.
Oh, yeah,
there's always. I'm just throwing that in because I've sat and listened. There's always a payment plan. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a hypothetical. Mm-hmm. So this student is, I don't know, let's say 16. Mm-hmm. They get this citation for the ordinance, and they agree to do the community service, or they agree to do the fine. They don't pay the fine, then perhaps they're given the community service, and then they don't do that, and then they time out and they're 18. What happens to this at 18?
The judge could suspend their driver's license. The judge could order them to pay it. It's up to whoever the municipal judge is at the time. Failure to pay a forfeiture for anyone on most offenses can result in suspension of your driver's license. But again, that's after they've been given multiple opportunities to do something. But that could happen.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Alderman Lundrum.
Thank you, Mayor. How much is a vaping unit and 1 unit of Juul?
And talking to the kids, it depends. When I first started, it was the big mods and the bigger ones with the tanks, and that could explode because I had a student in the middle of the classroom that had it explode in his pants pocket and actually got burns. And the teacher and the whole class kind of freaked out. And so that was one of my first experiences with these e-cigs. Then what happened is these different companies, because no one is regulating this, and there's different aerosols, different substances that are in it, the latest one is the Juuls. But I'll go back to the biggest ones. I mean, some of these kids are paying $130, $130, $150. They're going online and they're spending a lot of money on these units. So I don't know necessarily if the price, what we're talking about for fines, but they are spending that. Now, the Juuls is the latest trend, and those, from what I'm understanding, can be up to $40. And then the pods that are the different flavors, I'm thinking like $10 for a pack of 3. And so it is out there, and kids are telling me that they can go inside there and add the hash oil and things like that to it. We just can't test for the tobacco, and so that's the difficulty.
Oh, yeah, that wasn't the point I was trying to make. Is this is very expensive, and these kids are coming up with the cash. So whatever, $25, if they do end up with a fine, can't be that much of a hardship because they're paying a couple $100, every few months, I would guess, to maintain this habit. But it is reassuring to hear that you will work with Judge Guns, because I do think that community service is probably a more appropriate way to deal with this, because then the kid has to do it as opposed to the parent paying the fine.
Yes, I tell every parent they don't have to pay. They don't pay it. It's up to the student, and Judge Gunge is great, and same with the assistant attorney and doing the deferred on getting community service involved with the students.
Oh, that's great news. Thank you.
Okay, which we have a community service opportunity coming up, don't we, Greg? So with the electronic recycling, we have asked the high school if they have any students who need community service hours. So, let's see. Alderman Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a couple questions. How many other communities have banned this in their community?
A lot of the school resource officers, we have our own little group of, that we all talk about and stuff, and it's a huge concern. I know that Fox Valley Metro is one, so that's the village of, Little Chute and Kimberly. They have one, and, I've worked with the assistant attorney on some of those different ordinances, but I know for sure they do. I don't know if anyone else, but we're all talking about it.
A lot of other communities have what Alderman Coons talked about. A lot of communities have a vaping ban that's equivalent to the smoking ban that disallows anyone to vape anywhere in public that's considered enclosed. So restaurants, bars, schools, city buildings, anywhere that you can't smoke, you can't vape. And when I say a lot, I mean probably 20. Milwaukee, all of Dane County, all of La Crosse County. I think Green Bay either just passed it or is passing it. So several communities have that type of ban.
I would agree with that. I think I've talked to several restaurant owners, and they said it would be a lot easier for them if they could just say no smoking whatsoever of any type in my restaurant, and they wouldn't have to be the ones to enforce that. I would also like to know how many other communities have a ban on selling these products in their community. Can you give me any statistics on that?
Well, it is a state law says you can't sell or furnish nicotine products or things intended for nicotine consumption. So in theory, no tobacco outlet should be selling e-cigarette. In theory, no tobacco outlet should be selling e-cigarettes or nicotine vapes to minors. Now, they do sell flavor packets that don't have nicotine in it. Mm-hmm. That gets into a sticky situation of, well, is that intended for nicotine consumption or not? So, but in theory, and this is what the vape shops have told us, is that they don't sell to anyone under 18. Obviously, these people are getting it from somewhere, but...
And to my knowledge, there's no license for that, correct?
And I have a question for Officer Strabel. Do you see this being kind of a growing situation at the high school and the middle school? Do you see this as being a new trend?
Absolutely. When I started 5 years ago at the school, I just saw one or two. Now we're dealing it on a weekly basis. And I'm not quite sure too much with middle school, but it definitely hit hard in the high schools. And talking to the other school resource officers, it's everywhere. It is a growing trend.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your questions. Alderman Boyette.
I just have one more follow-up question. What happens when the parents are the ones going out and buying the $130 device, and then these children get this ordinance citation, and then they get another, and they get another, because the parents are okay with that? How are we equipped to handle that with this ordinance? This kid is going to smoke this, vape this, whatever you want to call it. I don't know the correct terminology, but they're going to utilize this product because their parent is okay with it, law or not. Again, I know it's parenting, and I know there are laws, and a lot of parents break a lot of laws, and I'm just saying, hypothetically, how are we going to manage that?
Well, the ordinance does ban anyone from selling or furnishing vapor products to minors. So if you had a parent who time and time again was spending $130 to buy their child a vape, after that child continuously got it removed, because under this ordinance, unlike currently where Officer Strabel has to give the device back to the parent, with this ordinance, they'll be able to keep the devices. So these students would have to buy a new one if they want to vape again. So if this parent continues to do it, the parent could be issued a $100 citation if it got to that point.
Okay, but again, I'm going to throw this at you. What about the cell phones that they drop? These are $400, $500, $600, $700 cell phones too, and they're constantly dropping them. You don't think they're buying their cell phones? Mom and dad is. Oh, that's your last one. You drop it again, you're buying. I see this vaping item like a cell phone, if you will. They're going to need it. They're going to want it. The parent's going to go get it. I'm just wondering, because I didn't read anything in this ordinance about, I guess, adding more penalty to it, kind of like we have other laws in this state where you continue to get speeding tickets and eventually you're not gonna, or parking tickets or drunk driving tickets or whatever. Eventually your penalties get stricter and harsher and the punishment is greater. So I'm just wondering, again, I guess, how are we going to deal with these? Because yes, maybe we're eliminating some of this pool that you're talking about at the high school of these youth, but you're never going to eliminate it all. And you have parents, you clearly have parents that think this is going to be okay, or they'd rather have their kids vaping than smoking cigarettes or going on to the next item, whatever that may be.
In the current Neenah ordinance, for any ordinance, the juvenile bond schedule does not increase given the number of times. So if you are 14 or 15, no matter how many times you commit this ordinance violation, it's the same exact ticket. If you're 16 and 17, no matter how many times you commit it, it's the same ticket. Other communities do have a tiered one. That's up to the judge, though. The judge is the one who approves the bond schedule.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Erickson?
Thank you, Mayor. One point that I'd like to make, Alderman Boyette, is that a child having a cell phone is not against the law. Supplying a child with a tobacco product or a product like this is against the law. That is the major difference here. It's against the law.
I understand that. I was just comparing it as a price item. A cell phone is pretty expensive, as so is these devices. That was my only comparison. Okay. It had nothing to do with the law. It was a price comparison.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Steele.
Thank you, Mayor. So I actually really like Alderman Kunz's idea, and the one that other people have supported, that of banning vaping in any situation where tobacco products are banned. I don't want to be exposed to vape, no matter who is doing it and how old they are. I just don't want to be exposed, and I think I think with that, then you're not expecting restaurant owners, other people in other public places to try and guesstimate the age of the person who's using the product either. if we just know that it's not legal for anyone to use it in public place. So I would absolutely support that ordinance. I am not going to support this.
Alderman Bates?
Thank you, Mayor. This was a discussion topic that we had during the meeting about enlarging the scope of this. What it came down to is, since tobacco products are not illegal to adults, to say any vaping product cannot be used is getting a little sticky, because we can't prove that it's detrimental at that level yet. We were hoping that by starting it off at the student or the under 18 level, we would at least hit a group of people. We also discussed, up and coming smokers. We also discussed a bit on the idea that some have hypothesized that this was a way of getting off of cigarettes. And so the fact that you could have someone that's perhaps already been a 30-year smoker getting off and using vaping, we were discussing that a bit. And we also discussed the idea that for restaurants and things like that they do have the opportunity to prohibit what they want in their own establishment. And we sometimes forget that, and when a business owner says, well, I really would like to do that, well, then step up and do it. I don't think you're going to lose customers that want to be there. You might gain customers that appreciate that it's not there. I, too, would like to see it more encompassing, but at least this is a first step. And this is what was requested of us by the school board. Thank you.
Alderman Coons.
Thank you, Mayor. I wasn't going to speak again, no matter what anybody said, but to me, I have a huge issue with what was just said. I mean, the reality is, the state came in and said, let's make smoking illegal, and we went ahead and did that. The fact that it's not illegal, we make it legal or illegal. That's what we do, and so we can make it illegal. It's again, if we're going to have a smoking ban and we're going to feel that that's appropriate for this community, but then not ban things that could be everything from illegal drugs in there to extremely harmful chemicals, because I don't know why we don't want to. We're afraid to. We're afraid to for the same reason, and probably the business owners have a greater reason. They don't want to do it because they will lose business. The same thing, bars. I mean, I bartended. You do things that you wouldn't normally do because you're going to lose those customers. You try to cut people off. You try to do things, whatever, but because you will lose those customers. If you tell someone you can't vape in here, well, they're not coming back in. And I'm going to tell my friends, you don't go there. They don't like you. They're mean, whatever it might be. They want someone to come in and make the rules so they don't have to, because they don't want to do it be that. When they had to make the rule and someone else doesn't, it just equalizes everything. It's the same argument, I guess, that's happened with the whole smoking ban. And I don't want to bring that all up back again. It's a matter of whether we want to connect it or we don't. And it's the simplest thing. We can make all kinds of different things about it. It's a matter of whether we want to or we don't want to, whether we want to make it legal or not. We decide that overall. I would certainly like, and I've heard some other people voice that, I'd certainly like to bring that back up for discussion and take a look at that issue, because I do think it makes it more seamless. When you tell kids you can't do this, oh, but everyone else can, so you should stop. We continue to do that, and it's not effective in my mind. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. If we can't make the rules for all of us, let's not try to apply it to kids. I will vote for this because I think it's a step in the right direction, but I think it's a short step, and we should go one more step further.
Alderman Bates, go ahead.
I think one of the problems is we have to define a few more things in the sense that this will cover things that don't even have nicotine in it. And to stop an adult from having something that doesn't have nicotine in it, I think you're getting on shaky ground, in the sense you can't prove that it's bad for them, but you just don't happen to like it. So, and it's not, you don't know whether it's necessarily bad for the people that are getting the smoke, and that I understand. But it will take another level of this. You yourself said for the previous thing, you don't want to have to sit and wait 2 more years before we get a decision on something. You said it yourself, this would be a good first step. And I don't I don't argue with the fact that we could look at extending it further, but when you have to, with the students, you can say no non-tobacco products as well. We don't want you just smoking the stuff that might have the flavoring and whatever in it, because we would put an impact on our officers or anyone else trying to discern what do you have.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else? In a healthy discussion, I would just say that, by many years in here, in this type of political environment, government, sometimes getting 3/4 of a loaf is a good start, and then you deal with the rest later. So we do a good job of that here in the city of Neenah, being progressive and getting what we can, and then moving on and maybe tackling other things another day. But Alderman Steele?
Yeah, I just had one more comment, which is that I would like the burden of proof not to be on a police officer or anyone saying that, okay, we have to show that this does contain nicotine in it. I think we can say that we cannot show that it's safe for anyone, and that the burden of proof should not be on us. It should be the criteria should be we can't show that this is safe for anyone, and we therefore don't want anyone exposed. So that and my mind, then a ban on anyone vaping anything in public places would be the direction.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Any other last minute discussion? Otherwise, thank you for answering those questions. So there's a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 2018-12. Possession of tobacco and vapor products by minors would be prohibited. All in favor of that motion will vote aye on the roll call machine. All opposed will vote no. Just be clarified here, it does say town council, but clerk's making a note that this is for this, not we're getting the right vote. That motion passes 7-2.
Going back to the regular schedule, committee recommends council approve the regular liquor license application for Shark Tales LLC, doing business as Town Council Kitchen and Bar, 133 West Wisconsin Avenue, as they meet the criteria stated in policy 2018-01, and I would so move. Yes.
Can't do it.
There's a motion by Alderman Bates.
We're trying to second.
Yes.
All right. There's a motion by Alderman Bates. Is there a second? Alderman Steele seconds it. There again, computer will be a little off, but clerk's making notes that this vote is for the Town Council Kitchen and Bar, correct?
Yep.
Any discussion on this issue? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the regular liquor license for Shark Tales LLC will vote aye. All will opposed will vote no using the roll call machine. We'll get her. That motion passes 9-0.
Committee recommends council deny the regular liquor license application for the Wobbly Painter, 112 East Bell Street, based on the recommendation of the Liquor License Review Subcommittee, and I would so move. Oops.
The motion by Alderman Bates.
Wait.
Seconded by Alderman Hillstrom. Is there any discussion on this motion? I think it's important just to, I don't want anyone watching this to think that there's a problem or a reason, negative reason on this business. I think they're a good business in our community. They were at Menasha Bazaar after dark. They had a booth set up and everything. Very good, legitimate business. We want them to do well and everything. They have a liquor license. They currently have a liquor license, but it's called a reserve liquor license instead of a regular Class B liquor license. So there's nothing negative here other than that this council and this committee, at least the committee, has made a decision that because we are down to a very limited number of regular licenses, that we want them to continue with their reserve license. So I just want to point that out, so by denying them, people don't get the wrong impression, because they work hard, they're doing a good business over there, they're doing a good job, and we want them to succeed. And okay, I just want to point that out. All right, there's a motion and a second. All in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote no, using the roll call machine. That motion passes 9-0.
Committee recommends council approve the proposed agreement for professional services from SEH for geotechnical exploration and engineering for Arrowhead Park in the amount of $54,650 using 2018 CIP funds, and I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Bates, seconded by Alderman Hillstrom. Discussion on this issue. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve the agreement for professional services for geotechnical exploration and engineering for Arrowhead Park using 2018 CIP funds will vote aye. All opposed will vote no. That motion passes 8-1.
On to number 5. Committee recommends council adopt ordinance 2018-14, repealing and recreating Chapter 12 of the Code of Ordinances, solid waste as presented, with the adjustment to Section 12.8. And I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Bates, seconded by Alderman Lang. Discussion. Seeing no. I'm sorry. There you go, Alderman Coons.
Thank you, Mayor. Just looking for some clarification. In particular, my understanding is, and I'm trying to keep all the different iterations of this together, but we are allowing only, you can get for garbage 195 gallon pail only, and not 2 or anything else. Is that correct? The way it is
currently, yes. I've asked Jerry to try and price out if someone. I've had a couple requests from people asking for a second cart and how much it would cost. Jerry, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, we looked at an additional cart from a tonnage and collection standpoint, and then looked at a couple other communities nearby just to see how things stood up there. My calculations would have an additional refuse cart at a charge of $185 a year. That would be, and then the recycling cart would be at $50 a year. Main difference being the density of the refuse and the tipping fee. So that is not currently in the ordinance.
And that makes up issues. My next question would be, in this, are we in a sense grandfathering in or picking up garbage at businesses when I think clearly that the idea was we wouldn't pick up at businesses, but I believe we are. Is that correct?
Are you talking with the proposed ordinance?
Proposed, well, currently and proposed, yes.
Basically, when we were laying out the ordinance that we took to committee, we were looking to provide consistency in a couple of ways. One is to establish a base level of service, which we have with the 95-gallon cart. So a commercial property, if they can fit their waste within that, then we'll pick it up. The other point of consistency relative to the current ordinance is that technically we're not supposed to pick recycling up at any commercial or multifamily or industrial property. So to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense that we're allowed to pick up the garbage, but we can't pick up the recycling.
And that's state law?
No, that's our ordinance.
That's our ordinance,
That's
okay,
our
which we
ordinance.
could make anything we want.
Which,
but yes.
which is the second point of consistency. The ordinance now allows us, if a commercial property has garbage that we're picking up, if they can keep their recycling in a single 95-gallon cart, we'll pick that up also.
Okay, so, the originally, I say originally, I don't know what that means exactly, but the idea would be that we weren't picking up commercial garbage, which is why we made a change, and that's why, downtown they have someone can pick up all their garbage. That was a choice we made. It gets to the issue of this, and there's one gentleman who brought up the idea of 6-unit thing. But at some point, if they can fit everything in a 95-gallon, container, or 6 95-gallon containers, I'm not sure how you look at that. Why wouldn't we pick up that if we're picking up commercial? It gets into that very, very slippery slope really quickly. And then if we allow additional containers, now is it 2 or 3 or 4? Now I'm just going to get a bunch of them and stick them all out there, and we're picking up garbage for every place, or potentially.
Well, sorry.
So that's my concern generally. And then, so I guess it really gets down to being consistent in our approach and being defendable about what we're doing. And I don't know how we can be defendable about it if we say to one commercial property, no, we're not picking yours up because we don't do that type of business, but yours we do because we always have, and I don't know else why, because we felt like it. So help me understand that.
You're highlighting my concerns, having dealt with ordinances for a little bit. You're highlighting my concern with the grandfather route, because I'm not going to be here forever. Greg's not going to be here forever. And 30 years down the line, people are wondering why we're doing what we're doing. So I'd rather, if there's a desire to accommodate a situation, I'd rather see if there's a way to adjust the ordinance to accommodate not just that situation, but other comparable situations.
Let me ask one more question. And that is, maybe if to pick up commercially, I think you have known the answer, to pick up one of the smallest containers, I think it's like a 2-yard container. What is that? Do we have any idea what that costs?
Our charge from Waste Management is $32 a month.
All right. It's my point being, if we allow to pick up 2 95-gallon, which is, I'm going to say, pretty close to a 2-yard container, we're doing it at $185 a year.
Well, let me just check that. The 2-yard container picked up every other week is $32 a month.
Yeah, okay.
And
even worse,
2 95-gallon carts is almost equal to a yard of refuse.
Okay.
Just a smidge under.
All right. So, but my point being, what we be very much doing is really incentivizing everyone to go to get 2 carts and have the city pick it up instead of going this way. They save a boatload. I can quick do the math here, about $185 a year and $32 or $35 every 2 weeks to pick up, which is a lot worse service. That's over, well, it's less than half. If we ever get to the point, and I know it's not part of the ordinance right now, but I know there's rumblings of that. If we ever think of doing that, to me, that price should be somewhere in the vicinity of $350, $400 a year, something that makes it advantageous for them to use a 2-yard container. And actually be more than that. It'd probably have to be $500, $600 a year to do that, to be an equivalent. I don't want to either compete against commercial and increase our costs that we don't currently have, and have this be getting more and more expensive every year because of it. That's my concern. I don't mean to get too far off from the ordinance, because I know some that isn't in the ordinance. But the issue of grandfathering and everything else is we have an issue. I think typically have some good ordinances, and I'll say it too. I mean, part of it is you get council involved, and we start going at it, and at some point we go, how'd that happen? And this is one of those where I think we need to make a real hard decision. what we're going to pick up for and what we aren't going to, and be able to clearly define why that is. And I don't see that currently in this ordinance. I'm not saying I'm necessarily going to vote against it, but because I don't know what that means. I mean, we're already starting this process, and I don't see that holding this back does us any good. It's probably a little late as it is because we've already started it. But I would put that out as a hope that we would make it very clear what we're doing and defend that. And I think we're already past that slippery slope, but if we can do anything else to fix that, I'd appreciate it.
Well, thank you for the comments. Any other comments or questions? I have. I was just leaning over to Jim. As I've been thinking about this during the day, wasn't prepared to make a suggestion, but it came to me. So on the rollout of this and the implementation, we are going to find idiosyncrasies in this process. And Jerry, as the Director of Public Works, I just asked Jim if there was a way to craft language that said the Director of Public Works has some ability to make calls on the fly, so to speak. Well, I'm just, you're going to find some idiosyncrasies, like this 6-unit thing. And maybe I used the wrong term here, but the 6-unit thing, they've been getting their garbage picked up a long time. We have the fire lanes. We've just kind of been made aware. Think about this, the fire lanes on South Park. You know, there's houses by the pool. So they have no street frontage. None. They have their driveway. They have 4 houses back there. They are allowed 8 cans, 4 and 4. Well, I'm here to tell you, if I lived if I lived on South Park and the neighbors there are going to put out 8 cans on my terrace, I'm not going to be too pleased. So that's kind of something that just, came up with. So there's a whole bunch of little idiosyncrasies here that we're going to find. So I really want Jerry to have some discretion that maybe he can make those, he can make them, and now I see, and I missed this, section 12-3 implementation, the collection, removal, disposal of solid waste in the city shall be conducted under the supervision, direction, and control of the Director of Public Works. Director of Public Works is authorized to establish and enforce such rules and regulations deemed necessary for solid waste collection and storage. I think that provides him the authority, with your approval, the authority to make those adjustments for certain types of situations. And then if we feel strongly enough that they should, or isn't sure that he should be making this call, he can bring that to the committee for revisions to the ordinance down the road. So that's how I'm glad this is in, but I want the council to understand that at the beginning, we're going to find out some things where, he's going to have to make a call, or he's going to call me, and then I'm going to call Todd, and say, what do we do? So I'm glad this is in, and I think that provides me the comfort that Jerry can make some decisions. And then if it's a big enough decision, I think he has a responsibility, or I have a responsibility to bring it to the council and say, hey, we need a revision to this ordinance. And I think, Christopher, that gets to some of your possible things. So, he can start working on them, and we can get this program implemented. And then if we want to make adjustments to it, I think that would work, in my opinion. Alderman Coons, go ahead.
Just a follow-up. So, but the question of whether something's allowed another 95 gallon and what that costs, that'd be big enough to come back.
Enough.
Okay.
That's big enough.
Yeah.
And this 6-unit thing, that's an issue that we got to work through. We don't know how many of those are out there. We believe there's only 2. Kind of did an inventory, but maybe we can sit down with the owner and say, instead of, and quite frankly, think about this. If that's the case, each unit is entitled to 1 and 1. They're entitled to that. So then that's 12 garbage cans out in front of that place. I don't particularly want that to happen, so I have been asking that we come up with a plan. He believes he might only need 2 and 2. Well, to me, that's better than having 12 out there. Even the ordinance says every unit gets 1 garbage and one recycling. You know, and he came to me and said, Mayor, most of my tenants give me one bag of garbage per week. So I think providing him the flexibility to work out those small little things that crop up is a good. Alderman Bates.
Just to make things worse, don't forget there has to be 3 feet in between each can, and therefore.
It'll be the whole Sherry Street.
There you go.
Alderman Stevenson.
Yeah, I mean, the members of the committee probably are aware of the fact that that language is in the ordinance since we reviewed it a number of times. To protect Jerry and the longevity of this, as these decisions are made, we've enabled him to make these decisions. To protect him, I just ask him to report that back to the committee on a regular basis as to how the program is vetting, how it's being set up, what decisions are being made from an operational perspective. And Person Kuntz's, when we hit the big ones, when where financial ramifications are, he's smart enough to recognize that needs to come some sort of council input and final approval. So I'm comfortable with the way we have this. We've worked this through.
Turn the lean group on them. That's
we don't give Chris that type of flexibility, though, do we? No comment? You should.
But we don't.
All right. I'm sorry. Sorry I brought it up. All right. So there's a motion and a second, and this is a big deal for this. This is a big day for the city here. We are entering into the next catching up with the Joneses, I guess. But this is going to be a good program. But it's going to have some bumps in the road. I'm willing to bet. There's going to be some phone calls, maybe to Alderman. There's going to be some phone calls to the mayor's office. So bear with them. Greg and Rick and Jerry are spending a lot of time and effort to try and roll out this program and get the guys on board, the drivers and that, and get them trained. And it's going to take a little bit, but and now with the mail situation, I just want to tell the council, for upstairs, Public Works, they spent their entire day answering the phone. You know, did you get my card in the mail? So there is one. Did I bring that up? The exchange. That's not in there. The exchange fee. That's coming up. Okay. So when we get to that, I want to make a couple comments about that with the exchange thing, but because we had the situation. But my point is that there's going to be little things on the rollout. So we'll get there. Okay.
One second.
Talk? Okay, go ahead, Alderman Linder.
Yes, you did make me talk because I just wanted to make sure that you included the cost of this program. And it's not insignificant, $2.7 million. So this isn't a free program. It's costing the taxpayers $2.7 million. So I just want to add that in there. There's always a cost.
All right. They're going to have big logos on, right, Todd? Alderman Coons.
Just, yes, there is a cost, but we did it side by side, and this was basically, I'm going to say, very close to a budget neutral process to our normal pickup process, from what I remember. I mean, it might have been a 2% increase, but it was very small. So, yeah, there's cost to this, but there's cost to our current system right now, and the hope would be that, I think the mayor has pushed this forward, and while I was reluctant, I think the idea that watching these guys try to pick up garbage every day, and then going to the city dump and seeing every one of them almost with a handicap sticker in their car, it's like, holy cow, this is a tough job. It's put a lot of wear and tear on these guys, so I support it.
All right, well, thank you.
One more second.
Alderman Linder.
One quick thing. It is not, as Alderman Coons says, budget neutral because of our pennies on the dollar that we took as a loss on some of our trucks that are not that old. So to me, it was premature until those trucks were old enough to trade them in and not take a loss on that. So I would definitely not call this budget neutral. Thank you.
All right. There's a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 2018-14, repealing and recreating Chapter 12 of the Code of Ordinances, Solid Waste, as presented with the adjustment to Section 12-8. All in favor will vote aye. All opposed will vote no using the roll call machine. That motion passes 9-0.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chairperson Bates. Item number B is regular Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of September 10, 2018. Chairman Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting out from the regular Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of September 10th, 2018. The minutes can be found on the city website. Item number 1, committee recommends council adopt ordinance 2018-15, public records and retention schedule. And I so move.
The motion by Alderman Erickson, seconded by Alderman Coons. Any discussion on this issue? There's been a lot of work and a lot of hard work put in by the legal department, but it's ready to go. Alderman Bates.
Thank you, Mayor. I did talk to the city attorney this afternoon asking about what would be required for like Facebook pages and responses like that, and his answer was
that any public record that is not specifically listed in the retention schedule would default to the standard 7-year period. The social media pages are a conundrum right now. Electronic records are the Records Board is working on that. Adam may, city attorney, may have some more information about that, but they're working on
and that's at a state level.
At a state level, right.
So if an alderperson or mayor has a personal Facebook page, doesn't conduct any business on it, that's fine. If they have a page that specifically says Alderman so-and-so, that is a public record?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. To the second part, definitely yes. To the first part, possibly. But that's not, this policy doesn't address that per se. Anything that can be construed as government business is a public record. So if you have a personal Facebook page and someone messages you on your personal Facebook page inquiring about aldermanic things and you respond, then that would be a public record.
So best advice is to direct them to your public page.
Correct.
Correct?
Or your city email.
Or your city email. Your
That's even better.
Public page or your city email, that would be better. That's right. Okay. Alderman Boyette?
So I have a question with that then. Hypothetically, I'm due to be run again for my position. What if I decide not to run and I take down my alderman page? Now there's nothing to keep for 7 years.
Well, Facebook...
Because I'm not an alderman, why would I keep up an alderman Facebook page?
Yep, Facebook stores your information forever. So someone could do a Freedom of Information Act on your Facebook page if they really wanted to.
Gotcha.
The city only has to turn over documents that we have and that we're responsible for maintaining. The city is not responsible for maintaining your personal Facebook page or your aldermanic Facebook page.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You.
So just to follow up on that, if you, 2 years after you leave, you may be requested with a Information Act that you would have to go to Facebook then to, okay. So there's,
Yeah. Heard it many times said. It never goes away once it's on the internet.
No, Facebook is forever.
Yeah, it's just forever. All right.
Which to the alderman's point, which is why it's always better to use email, because email is controlled by the city.
All right, thank you very much for the explanation. So, ordinance number 2018-15, public records and retention schedule. There's a motion and a second. All in favor will vote aye. All opposed will vote no. Using the roll call machine, please. That motion passes 9-0.
Item number 2, committee recommends council authorize the Community Development Authority to proceed with the necessary steps to acquire 214 Bren Street at the agreed upon price of $43,000 with the purchase funded through Tax Incremental Financing District 10. And I so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Erickson, seconded by Alderman Hillstrom. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote no.
cycle.
Who's good? That motion also passes 9-0.
Item number 3, the committee recommends council authorize staff to enter into the necessary contracts with Appleton Sign for the manufacture and installation of a Neenah Interstate 41 community sign on the south retaining wall of the Harrison Street / Breezewood Lane roundabout, not to exceed the amount of $17,595, $15,350 for the contract, and a $2,245 contingency. And I so move.
Motion by Alderman Erickson, seconded by Alderman Coons. Any discussion? Alderman Bates, go ahead.
I'm a little confused about the location. Would this be over the slough?
It would appear to be.
Okay, because my
It's
question
actually
is,
off to the right.
okay, because I want to make sure that we don't have any excess light or something going on the slough where it's very natural there, and I don't know if it would affect any sort of animals or birds that would be.
There was a half a dozen deer eating there the other day, but
Yeah,
they'll be able to see better. No, the lights actually shine up onto the sign, so it's.
So it wouldn't be any more than you have the lights on top of the bridge.
Right.
It's
The
not like it's
lights are going to be
coming-
down,
They're
pointed
from
up
below.
at the sign.
Got it.
Right.
That's
I
my
think that'll
Thank
help
you.
any of that. So, but I will just say, I think Director Hayes did a nice job of finding, this wasn't the original thought process when I put this in the budget a few years ago, and the council agreed to have a sign as an entry to the city, but I think it's a great alternative. It looks really nice on paper, so I'm hoping it turns out as good in person as it does on paper. Alderman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, we borrowed $100,000 in 2017, correct? And we're going to spend $17,595. Am I to assume that the remaining balance would then be, the project will be closed and those dollars would be available as in some sort of fund balance? Which fund balance would that be?
But
This is in TIF 9.
TIF 9.
Yes.
Fund balance. So then I'm assuming TIF 9 will have, in our 2019 budget, will have some acknowledgement of the fact that we've got $85,000 that we probably aren't going to have to borrow.
Correct.
Although I will say, I've asked Director Hayes that we can, because of the good price that we got, I would like to at least explore the idea of something on this as you're coming south into the city, but that's a little bit harder to do because of the terrain.
So I want to know where $85,000, what the plan is for the $85,000.
If I could, there is, and it's not a significant part of that, but the mayor, you may recall, we've discussed the possibility of reconstructing a sign at the entry into the industrial park that was removed by a wayward driver a number of years ago. And I actually looked at some layouts to that effect that are roughly in the same ballpark.
For the entrance,
price.
we put some dollars in for that, and that money possibly could supplement it, but it won't happen without council approval.
Right, so I guess the way I want to ask this is, in our 2019 budget, will we see a carry forward of $85,000 for signage? I'd probably ask the mayor
Mike
that
wants
since
to
it's his
answer.
budget.
I think Mike wants to answer.
I'll have Mike.
Well, right. And let me just, logistically, in the 2019 budget, you will not, nor would you ever see carryovers from the current year, because we're doing that budget before.
It's 2017 dollars.
Right, but it's still the 2018 expenditure. We don't do carry forwards as part of the annual budget.
But we'd have to carry forward 100,000 from the 17
But
budget.
we already have. We've carried forward that money as part of the CIP process back in May. Okay, so
what
that
would we
money
see,
is.
what would we see in 19? You have to somehow do something with the 2017 $100,000 carry forward.
Right, and that typically would not take place at the operating budget approval, but would take place as part of the CIP approval after the first of the year, once that project and other projects in 18 have some certainty to them, whether or not they're done, whether or not they're partly done, that type of thing. And you won't see this in any way different than you wouldn't see the carry forwards from a street project that was bid out in June, let's say, and maybe has $50,000 left. You won't see that. Typically, we haven't dealt with that until the CIP process. Now, we have talked about doing some sort of interim carry forward look as part of the budget process, but that's
I think
more
I've just answered. I just acknowledged Chris Hayes' challenge to the council to challenge our lien situation.
Yeah, it's that I'm just giving you what we've done in the past.
If the council isn't aware of carry forwards, the capital project at the time that the current year budget is adopted, which then dovetails into a borrowing package, that needs to be.
Okay. Get Joni on.
Yeah.
But, okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second.
But Mayor,
yes,
I do want to congratulate you and Chris on making a $100,000 project and making it $50,000.
Yeah, he did it.
Not insignificant.
I will tell you that my job was to drive south on 41 with Renee hanging out the passenger window with an iPad videoing what it would look like. So
with her seatbelt on. I'm sure.
No, I did tell her, no, a little further. Get a better shot. Okay, that's enough. All right, there is a motion and a second. All in favor will vote aye. All opposed will vote no using the roll call machine. That motion passes 9-0.
Item number 4, the committee recommends council authorize the Community Development Authority to proceed with the necessary steps to acquire Lawrence Salvage Yard at 2405 Schultz Drive at an agreed upon sale price of $900,000 with the funding to be provided through Tax Incremental District 9. And I so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Erickson, seconded by Alderman Hillstrom, regarding the Lawrence Salvage Yard. Discussion. I hate to comment on all these, but and I'm just going to say that here's another, and where credit is due, and Chris has spent a lot of time, effort, and working this project for a couple of years now, and it's finally coming to fruition. And so kudos to him for getting us to the finish line, hopefully, on this. Alderman Boyette?
I just want to just explain why I'm going to be voting no on this. I think there's too high of a risk, number one, with the cleanup potential and the uncertainty of what's there. I mean, we have an ordinance for our residents to park vehicles on concrete or on blacktop. They can't park their vehicles in their yard because we're afraid that these fluids and other things that are contaminants seep into the ground. And so we have an ordinance for that to protect the land. And this place has been there for decades, and God only knows what's leaked into that ground. And to cap it and then to try to potentially fix it and then to find a buyer to sell it. And it just, there's so many things that I find this is a higher risk, and I will be voting no for those reasons.
Alderman Stevenson?
Thank you, Mayor. I did miss the Finance Committee meeting, so I apologize. So I do have a question regarding the purchase price, Chris. We're showing $405,000 for real estate and $495,000 to be paid to them for salvage material relocation. What is that? There's 3,000 cars I read somewhere on that site, which they will be paid. I'm assuming they'll be paid for. Why do we have to pay them to get paid to relocate them?
The only reason that's structured in that way is that in order to be eligible for brownfield grants, you typically have to show a reduced value of the property as a result of the perceived environmental conditions that may be there. we have an appraisal that's a number of years old now, but is in the range of $675,000. In order to get the to be eligible for the grants, again, we're showing a land value, a property value significantly less, at least about $200,000 less than the appraisal. To get to a bottom line for the to the owner, we had to find some way to fill that gap. But that was my way of doing that.
What's the value of the grants?
I don't know that, but it could be it could be anywhere from 50,000 on up. And if I could, just that question that in my view, and I think in the owner's view, the dollar amount is the same. How we chose to cut that up in the document would suggest that we paid so much for land and so much for relocation of the vehicle.
Oh, what was the appraised value?
I believe it was 625 or 675, somewhere in that neighborhood. But that's a number of years old already.
Right, Ted?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? One of the challenges we face is within the city. There's only so many lots that are buildable that there's probably no environmental worries. So many of the lots that are available have environmental challenges, and that's why they're sitting vacant, because old gas stations, old dry cleaners, those types of properties are scattered throughout the state of Wisconsin. And so someone has got to take a chance on redeveloping them, and the best ones to do that is local units of government, because of the what's it called? The LGU. And otherwise, they're just going to sit and decay and decay and decay. Take Shillabritz, for example. So, I mean, yeah, there's risk, but in order to not have an eyesore in your community, the best ones, I mean, private sector is not going to do it. They're not going to take that risk. They're not going to do that. And so we have the ability through grants and that to take those risks, those properties, clean them up, and get them back to be tax-paying properties. So, I hope we support this. Alderman Boyette?
I appreciate that last statement that you made. But I just want to add to that we have to annex this too. This isn't even city property. So in addition to the environmental risks, we would have to annex this property, would we not?
Yes.
Thank you.
Alderman Kuntz?
Thank you. Yeah, the city, when the city wants to annex something that they own and they're the city, there's never, it doesn't get any easier than that. So from that standpoint, and the other point would be that we just approved a sign. The next thing you see when you drive down is this place. I mean, this yard, a half a mile further down the road after we see the Neenah sign, or it's not even that, unless I have it backwards, my directions. But it is one where, these things matter. This is a visual, and you're right. I mean, nobody's going to clean this up. We have the best ability based with the laws that we are given. I'd rather, it's the only way we remove a salvage yard basically within our city limits. So I support it.
And last, I will just say this. We were this close at utilizing that site once before to keep a major employer in this community. They were pretty darn interested in potentially utilizing that site. At the end of the day, it didn't pan out. But they have specifically told me that, Mayor, you get that site available, cleaned up, you are going to have no problem marketing that site and getting a valuable addition to the city. And so I just throw that out there because we had those discussions with them. So, All right, there's a motion and a second. This will be $900,000 for the Lawrence Salvage Yard at the agreed upon sale price of $900,000, be funded through tax incremental district number 9. All in favor of that will vote aye. All opposed will vote no using the roll call machine. That motion also passes 8-1.
Item number 5, the committee recommends council approve that no fee be charged for refuse/recycling cart replacement and maintenance.
There's a motion by Alderman Erickson, seconded by?
Second.
I didn't move it.
Oh, you didn't move? Oh, well, then I'll make that motion.
All right. Just write it down. Alderman Erickson moved, seconded by?
Alderman Boyette moved.
Alderman Boyette moved,
Boyette did.
seconded by? All right.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Alderman Bates.
I was surprised this went down to 0. I was going to ask the director, the cost, I mean, we are upfront paying for the carts for everyone in the city, and maybe whatever we had originally, which was, I can't remember what it was, but what is the cost of a cart? And about how long does it last? I mean, some people can have them last 50 years. So.
Yeah, on most of the, I think the calculation I put together, I use 15 years. But certainly we've heard reports of them lasting longer and depending on conditions, maybe not lasting that long. There's a 10-year warranty for the carts that we're purchasing. I believe the range, depending on size, went from 43 to 53 per cart. So I used $50 in the estimate that I put together.
And so what was it originally that you recommended for the cart fee?
$5 a year.
Per cart.
Per cart, yep.
Alderman Coons.
Thank you, Mayor. I think one issue that I brought up, and I didn't quite get the exact answer, although I'm guessing on it, and that is we add a new fee. I assume what happens then is we just have to reduce our levy by that same amount of dollars. We could put the fee in. I don't see how we could charge well, I guess I would look at whether that, I'd turn to Jim or Mike, whether that would reduce our levy, in which case we've added nothing.
The fee has to be reasonably related to our cost under the statute, and there is a provision about offsetting.
So we would have to offset the levy.
I believe so.
Yeah. Again, the answer is I don't know for sure what what a fee like this how it would affect the levy limit. It could, because it's a question of offsetting maintenance, which is general fund revenue. I'm sorry.
Pardon me, but we don't offer that service now. So I mean, it's not like we're taking it off and then charging it elsewhere.
No, what we are offering, it's just a different iteration of the same service that we're offering, which is garbage pickup. I mean, we are offering garbage pickup. We're just not offering it. It'd be the same as anything else. I think if we changed a service, but still we're providing a service that's the same. Again, the answer is I don't know if such a fee we haven't vetted it through that process yet.
Alderman Boyette.
I want to just express the reason this came to be this way in committee was it was throwing a lot of confusion because we were trying to figure out who was going to actually own the container, because if the resident was paying for their cans, then they were going to see, well, then I own this. But clearly the city is going to own these receptacles. So to charge them a fee for them, it was getting more confusing, and we were trying to make it as least confusing as possible. So we went with no fee, but then, as you can see, the next item is a different fee, and that would be more or less for if it needs to be repaired or replaced. And at that point, then, that would cover any of the questionable costs that may or may not come up. But I just wanted to share that is what brought this to being a no fee.
Alderman Coons?
Just more question, Director Kaiser. When you did your original pricing, you put up, all the stuff, laid it out. Did you have replacement costs for these items, or depreciation? You had depreciation of garbage cans, something in there.
Mean when we did the comparison
Yeah.
last spring? Yes, we used depreciation.
So and that's part of the pricing when we looked at it.
Yes.
This is not any additional cost.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
As we appreciate. Anyone else have any comments? All right.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, we have one. Alderman Hillstrom and then, or Alderman Bates?
Could you explain to me how depreciation affects us in this matter? At the end of the day, usually depreciation has to do with how much I pay in taxes, the government. Well, we are the government, so what exactly does depreciation mean in this case? Because at the end of the day, in 30 years, we're going to have to buy everybody a new car again.
And essentially, that's what depreciation means in this situation, is that, I guess theoretically, if something is provided to an individual and that the city owns, and then that item depreciates to the point where it's no longer usable through no fault, theoretically, of the person who has it at their home, I think part of the thought process here was that would be the city's responsibility to replace that again as it depreciates. I think that was also part of the calculation. One of the things I think that maybe got pointed out was, because the city is paying for these items up front through borrowing, the taxpayer is paying for these through his taxes. It's not as if he's not paying for it. He's paying for it through his taxes. And if, in fact, he's paying for it through his taxes because we're borrowing the money now and they have to pay through the levy, the debt service levy, for the next 10 years or so, and you charge them a $5 fee, now they're theoretically paying twice for the same can, because they're paying to replace, they're paying for it through their taxes, plus they're putting a $5 replacement fee as well, which theoretically means that person is paying double. I guess that's the way I would
And
say.
I see it the other way, that the initial one which we borrowed for is the one you get. The $5 that you would be paying would be for future cans. And so this would be essentially like what we used to call a sinking fee. We're putting money away. So I don't want to see us in whatever time frame getting hit with this giant bill in 1 year again, and all of a sudden we can't borrow to, do some other big job in the city.
Anyone else? Comments, questions? All right, if not, all in favor of approval of that no fee be charged for the refuse recycling cart replacement maintenance fee? All in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote no, using the roll call machine, please. That motion passes 7-2. Item number 6, go ahead.
Item number 6, the committee recommends council amend the fees for services scheduled to provide for a refuse/recycling cart exchange fee of $25 per cart, and I so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Erickson, seconded by Alderman Boyette, that a $25 cart exchange fee be implemented for this program. I've had some discussions with Director Kaiser today. I don't know. I'm having mixed feelings on this. Originally, I was one of the people who said that no fee should be charged for the replacement maintenance, but yet when someone takes a cart and then decides that that's not the right one for them, and want another cart, there should be a fee. I'm not 100% sure in my mind that a $25 per cart fee is not excessive. I don't know what the right number is. I worry a little bit about the recent snafu with the United States Postal Service, that some people are going to get a 95-gallon cart, that they are going to call you and they're going to say, I sent my card in, I asked for a 65-gallon cart. You gave me a 95 because we didn't get their card. and then we're going to charge them $25 to exchange it. So I'm just not sure on this one in my own mind. I guess I just want you to think about that. Alderman Bates?
Okay, thank you, Mayor. A couple of questions. So this would eliminate that grace period we thought about, where it would be the first time, it was like.
That's correct.
So that's what this is. Now, is there a different fee that I'm forgetting about? That is, if you have a cart that you have destroyed, or you put hot embers in it, and all of a sudden it has no bottom in it, do we still have a different fee for that?
The ordinance allows us to charge for the replacement of that cart.
Okay, so that would be your
property
$43 to $53 and whatever service costs. Thank you.
If it's done through negligence or something, yes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Alderman Coons.
Thank you, Mayor. I support this, and really the dollar amount could be almost anything. It's more of the fact that you get to come in and write a check. That's going to be the bigger issue that's going to hold people back, because you can't just say, I want a new cart. At the same time, I think what I'm hoping happens here is the discretion we talked about earlier. Here is where I think discretion is very much needed. And what I'm hoping happens is that there's a great amount of discretion used. And if someone wants to change their mind in the first 3 months, maybe we go, yeah, whatever. We'll drop you off a new one. Or we talked about before, if someone, moves into a house and they've got 2 35-gallon things, they're going, this doesn't work for me. I'm assuming what will happen is someone will say, I can just move in the house, isn't going to work for me. We'll drop off a couple new ones for you. It'll be that simple. Now, if someone's going, I want to change this every month, we want to make sure we charge those people. This just gives, I think, my big thing is this gives the ability for Public Works to go, okay, this is getting out of hand. Either this person's changing all the time, or everyone's changing all their mind too many times. We need to implement this more strongly. That's my hope. And at least, I guess I would ask, whether it's Director Kaiser or whoever, I don't know, are we assuming that same discretion? Is that a... Yep.
Yeah, I would say so.
The problem is when one neighbor finds out the neighbor got it for nothing, they come in and they should be charged, and they say, well, you gave it to my neighbor for nothing. So that's going to be the challenge. Alderman Boyette.
I agree with Alderman Coons on this. I actually, in committee, wanted to charge the full amount for a new can, because here's the theory on this. The city is purchasing these cans. So if you made a mistake in the size you want, we can exchange it and with a smile, service with a smile, but we still own that can or that container. That means we have to do, like, what was the other municipality? Fox Crossing? We have to find storage for 300 plus whatever size cans come back into us. We own these cans once we put in the order and purchase. So you want to come in and exchange it, maybe we have that size on hand to exchange it. If we don't, we're going to order you a new one, and we've got to find some place to house everything that comes back. So now we've got another issue. So that's why I was in favor of charging the full amount if you need to bring it back, because we have another can now that we got to find a home for. It's going to be stamped with the city logo on it. It's not like we can make a deal with another municipality to give it a different home that maybe they could utilize it. We're going to be stuck with whatever comes back in. And again, I do feel some sorrow for this whole mail situation, because we don't know if some of these mailings were lost or whatever happened to them. We don't know as of yet if they've all made it into the city and been counted, because we hired a third party to take care of that, and they're still counting. So again, yes, I kind of think maybe we do need a grace period, 2-3 months, to make sure that those postcards aren't going to be affecting this as well, and then implement the fee, plus that also gives the individuals some time to utilize the can size. And I'm primarily talking about the smaller can versus the medium-sized can, because I think that's where a lot of the attention went when people were trying to find the size they wanted.
Alderman Bates?
Thank you, Mayor. I do agree with that. I would like to still see some sort of grace period because from the people that came in and pushed things around and from the seniors I saw at School for Seniors, I mean, they were very concerned about this and it's very hard to picture them in your garage and see how they're going to work in the winter and whether you have space for them. So I personally would like to see a grace period. Thank you.
So Jerry, so I'm clear, the plan was they have to keep that cart for a certain amount of time, and then there's going to be a short window where they can exchange it. Is that correct?
Yeah, the plan was that no exchanges before February. That's what we had.
They have to keep the can till then.
That's right.
And then, because, you don't want them coming in right away, and now, I mean, kind of try and manage it a little bit. I think.
That's right.
Especially if we are forced to buy a certain amount of inventory.
Mm-hmm.
It's the operational issue.
So I'm okay with a grace period. I just think having that time frame, I mean, maybe then they'll get used to it and say, yeah, I guess it will. So, I'm okay with a grace period, but I think for down the road, keep this, once the program gets rolling and that, someone wants to exchange and that, maybe they move out of the house, they want a different size, new owners and that, there should be a small cost to that, Are we're gonna deliver it then, or the company will deliver it?
We would deliver it.
So it isn't the company delivering it then, it's our employees who are delivering it. So there's a cost to that, taking a guy to go deliver it. So if someone would like to put a grace period time frame in there, I think that would be appropriate. Otherwise, Alderman Erickson?
Well, not only do we have to deliver it, we have to clean it out. I'm assuming there's, spray it out or wash it out.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some labor before we could give it to another.
Yep, good point. Alderman Bates?
Yeah, just a quick share. Jerry, what's the breakdown of I know the ones you're concerned about are the smallest ones that we have available, and that's what you're worried that you're going to get all the excess for. What's been kind of the breakdown, if you know from
The last breakdown I had is 14% of our respondents went with the 35. We had around 36% with the 65 and 50% with the 95.
Thanks.
So if, Jerry, if we would do a grace period, how would we communicate this to the homeowners? That the month of February they can exchange their cart? How would we accomplish
that? Well, we still have a refuse and recycling guide to put together for 2019, so that would probably be the spot to put a note
water
on
bill, quarterly water
Yes.
bill, social media, Facebook, website, media.
Yeah, I want to. Part of my concern is I'm not really looking to promote people to exchange.
I know.
Because that gets us into a world of hurt on the other side.
Yeah.
If they call us and would like to exchange, we'll have the discussion. But I don't want to go door to door asking people if they want to swap their cards out.
Yeah, we're not putting them cans out in the lobby anymore because a lot of staff. No, I'm just kidding there because I think it was a good. We had hundreds of people come in to look at those cans, so it was a good way where they could touch them, feel them, make a decision. So, Alderman Coons.
What I would do is, I don't know whether it's a nodding of the heads of the council that says, yeah, we agree that there'd be some grace period and that you use your discretion. I don't want to make an ordinance for the next 20 years. This ordinance is going to read something about changing your carts and whatever. It's not going to make any sense. Let's just leave the ordinance the way it is. I think we can all, I think Jerry can look around the room and say, yeah, we're going to allow quite a bit of discretion here on a new process and leave it at that and make it not so, otherwise we got to define some rules and which date it's going to be and how, and it's just going to be a mess. That's my suggestion.
Alderman Stevenson?
Don't we have a grace period based on Jerry's inclusion of the fact that they can't trade him in until February?
That's the effect of it.
Okay. Meaning people going, no, that's not true, but we're not allowed to change him, right?
That's the approach we're taking, yes.
We're still going to charge him 25. Yeah. Second question or second comment regarding with all the attention that this mail fiasco has generated, is there any opportunity to maybe post? Can we post the current listing of responses on our website and ask people to check it to make sure if they're listed as 95, because that's what they defaulted to, and we didn't get their card, they could still call us or something to help validate the information?
You know, we haven't gotten the latest or up-to-date selection from the contractor yet.
Well, we can ask for it.
Closed it as of last night. Is the formal closure of that selection period.
That's
so yeah, they were looking to finalize that and get that over to us.
good suggestion. Talk to Joe tomorrow, see if you can put that as an attachment.
Yeah, and let the newspaper know, because they were all over this fact
and,
that our mail was not delivered, and
I mean, Joni put it on Facebook and put it on our website, and Duke ran a story, Post Crescent, and we had 100 calls. Judy upstairs had 100 calls by 11 a.m. this morning, right?
She had 80 by 9:30. She had 210 during the course of it.
So it's probably a good, that's a real good suggestion. I mean, we can, it's quite a list, quite a big list, but Joe can probably put it as an attachment. Okay, we'll look at that. Thanks. Yeah, we got the technology to do it, so then we got to get the message out. So, okay. Alderman Boyette?
I just have a quick question. So then do we need to do a friendly amendment to this and add the grace period?
The what?
The grace period. Do we need to add that to this motion?
The effect of not allowing the transfer of February grants the grace.
And that's in the ordinance?
That's the procedure that we're following.
That's part of my discretion.
Yeah.
If I may, I think she's talking about that the grace period at the end, you don't get a free exchange. You have to pay the $25.
Right. Like for the motion that's on the table right now, I'm wondering if we need to put the grace period in with that motion.
So Mike
at
and I
this
were
given
just
time.
talking. If you can't exchange it till February, that's not a grace period. The grace period is when you can exchange it. So if you can't exchange it till February, there's just no exchanges. So there's got to be a little time frame where people can exchange it in order to have grace period. And so you would really have to set 2 weeks aside. You know, the director makes a decision then and says February 15th to February 28th. If people want to exchange, that's your time.
So is that a no? I just asked a yes or no question. I'm just wondering.
I don't think you have to put it in the ordinance. I think Jerry and I will talk about that. We'll bring it back to the council. We'll bring it back to Public Works and Services, try and determine, that amnesty program, whatever you want to call it. Okay? And that will be the grace period. So, all right. Good. All right. There is a motion and a second to amend the fees for services scheduled to provide for refuse recycling cart exchange fee of $25 per cart. All in favor will vote aye. All opposed will vote no using the roll call machine. That motion passes 9-0.
Item number 7, the committee recommends council approve the Interceptor Memorandum of Understanding with the City of Menasha, and I so move.
Alderman Erickson moves, seconded by Alderman Boyette. approving the interceptor memorandum of understanding with the City of Menasha. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor vote aye, all opposed vote no using the roll call machine.
And that concludes my report after you.
Alderman Steele.
Oh, sorry. I tried.
That motion passes 9-0. For a point of information for the council, Mayor Merkus told me yesterday that Menasha passed it with no discussion or anything either. The Board of Public Works, I'm sorry, the Board of Public Works approved it. I'm sorry, that's what he did tell me. Okay, now, thank you for your report, Alderman Erickson. Item number 10 is special committees. There was no report from the Plan Commission. Board of Public Works meeting, Vice Chairman Hillstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. The minutes from the September 11th meeting can be found on the city website. There's one council action item this evening. The board recommends council award contract 7-18, hot mix asphalt pavement repair to Northeast Asphalt, Greenville, in the amount of $94,365, and I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Hillstrom, seconded by Alderman Bates, for the contract 718 HMA pavement repair to Northeast Asphalt. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor will vote aye, all opposed will vote no using the roll call machine, please. That motion also passes 9-0.
That concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you for your report. Any update from the CDA, Director Hayes?
Other than the CDA will be moving forward on the acquisition of Lawrence Salvage Yard and all the tasks that are associated with that. They're also continuing to work on possible prospects and projects downtown that hopefully will come forward at some point in the future.
Has there been any further discussion or attempted discussion from any of the parties regarding the property downtown?
Hasn't been any contact recently. We were supposed to have something this month, so I'll follow up on that.
Okay. Item number D is the Library Board. Report from the Library Board. Alderman Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. The library board met this afternoon at 4 o'clock. Some things I'd like to highlight. The Friends of the Library annual book sale started today and will run through September 24th. So visit the city website for hours and information on that. Also, there is a program that is going to be put on called the Progressive Women of Neenah and Menasha, and that is a joint, you can join the Neenah and Menasha Historical Societies for a combined program on the history of some of our most interesting and progressive women of the past. Neenah Historical Society Executive Director Jane Lang and the Menasha Historical Society Vice President Kathy Humsky will be joining forces for this interesting program. That is Thursday, September 27th at 7 p.m. There are many, many great things to do at the Neenah Library, everything from fitness to chess to gardening. So please visit the Neenah Library website and find out about all their great programming. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. I saw a picture somewhere on the internet of all the books that they have for sale. There's a lot of books for sale. So, and all the proceeds go to the Friends of the Neenah Library?
That is correct.
So thank you. Neenah Arts Council.
Thank you, Mayor. The Neenah Arts Council will be presenting Neenah Paints the Town this Friday, September 25th or 21st from 5 to 7. It will be a free community plein air celebration at Riverside Park Harbor. So you can come and create your own masterpiece featuring watercolor painting or pastel drawing. All the supplies will be provided. So if you're interested in coming, please bring a lawn chair, a lawn blanket, snacks and water if you'd like. This is open to all ages and for all skill levels. There will be some art teachers on hand if you need a few art tips, and we're hoping to have a great event. So Friday, the weather looks like it'll be wonderful. So please join us for this first Neenah Paints the Town. And that concludes
This is going to be cool. It's going to be very cool. So good luck and get the word out. Tell people about it. So Friday night, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And you said bring your supplies. Probably bring some mosquito repellent. But
Yes.
I will tell you this. I just going to mention it that we are spraying the area where they're going to be with mosquito repellent in the grass or whatever. A company's coming in, and we're also doing that Shattuck Park for the powwow on Saturday because I just think it's important. There's going to be lots of people down there. We want to make sure they have a good experience. So,
How about Riverside Park on the marathon?
and then the marathon, Riverside Park is being done by the marathon on Saturday. They're also spraying for mosquitoes. So.
One other quick item I want to mention. I want to thank our sponsors, Jack Richardson School of Art and Gallery and Strathmore Paper for providing us with supplies for this event.
All right. Thank you very much. There are no petitions. Any council directives anyone would like to bring up? Seeing none, any unfinished business? Under new business, just to let people know, I'll be filling the expired term of Lisa Hamus on the Neenah Harbor Committee for a 3-year term. Also, my appointment to fill the expired term of Art Schmeichel and Mike Smavey on the Water Commission for a 5-year term. These will be considered at the October 3rd meetings. So those appointments, I'll be contacting those individuals to see if they're interested in volunteering again. Any other announcements that people would like to make? Anybody? Had one. Oh, yeah. Well, all I wanted to say, yeah, the Paint the Town came up, the powwow came up on Saturday. Sunday's a marathon, and invite you all to come out, and we're looking forward to the marathon. I will tell you a lot of preparation once again by the Neenah Police, Neenah Fire, and Rescue to ensure the safety of the participants in that. So I will be out with Gold Cross working. So, Christopher, are you running?
I am.
The half?
Yeah.
Anybody else? Todd?
No.
Not this year, okay.
No, not again.
All right. That's all I have.
Not again.
Is there a motion?
Move to adjourn.
There's a motion to adjourn and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We are adjourned.
Broadcasts of the City of Neenah Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin-Fox Valley. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents via the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues or about these broadcasts by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or by completing the electronic feedback form on the city website, www.neenahgov.org. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.